Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 399 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by Pink Whitney from our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here in the Barstool Sports podcast family. What is going on, everybody? We had the third Chiclets Cup in less than a year out in Buffalo. Fantastic time had by all. Tremendous support, tremendous facility. Everything was great. Let's say hi to the fellas first, then we'll dive right in. Producer Mikey Grinelli and director, commissioner of the Chiclets Cup. Tremendous job once again, my man.
Thank you, boys. What a weekend in Buffalo. Just the perfect host city for a Chiclets Cup. And then Riverworks, the perfect venue for a Chiclets Cup as well. It couldn't have gone any better. I personally couldn't be any happier. And thanks to everyone who participated, worked on the event, or even just came by and said hi. And then you had the beer announcement on top of that. So great weekend in Buffalo, and the boys are buzzing heading into the summer here.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Such a unique facility, too. I mean, the roller rinks, the concert setup right on the river on this island. You get the cereal smell heading over every day, the Cheerios. It's good stuff. But next up from his hometown of Welland, Ontario, Canada, Paul Brisnasty Bissonette. What's up, buddy?
Straight from my parents' bedroom because that's where the modem's at. So
someone's getting caught doing something.
Oh, fucking. Yeah, I already caught my sister. I don't want to catch my parents. Gee, you summarized it perfectly. Like, it's like bittersweet, you know. It's like you're just looking back on all the amazing memories, the amazing people that showed up, getting to hang out with the big deal selects. Like, my teammates were incredible. And I mean, we were out till fucking like 3 a.m. every morning, just getting buckled, playing guilty, but playing hard and under the heat, and so many fans there to watch. So all in all, man, it was an incredible experience. And G, of course, I just want to thank you again, buddy, because, you know, this was your idea, probably going back about 18 months ago to start these things. We had a very successful launch in Detroit, followed it up in Vegas. This one was a different beast. And I think it had a lot to do with the amazing venue, like you mentioned, RA, and then, of course, the pour over of fans. Like, fucking Grinelli was doing local radio TV hits, or was it a TV hit or a radio hit?
TV hit, the ABC affiliate, baby.
Ooh, not a big deal. Grinelli doing TV hits.
Not bad. Not bad. Yeah. I haven't really got to thank you guys because for giving me a chance to do this, I think is crazy, Biz. I just called you. Like I said, I was super baked one day, called you, gave you a call and said, dude, I think we should do roller hockey tournaments. And the fact that it turned into what it did and seeing how it all came out in Buffalo is really just unbelievable. It left me speechless, to be honest.
Well, as we all know, right, most great ideas do come from cannabis. So that's why we do roll the joints up. That's why we do smoke them. I wouldn't recommend smoking them before you play ball hockey out in the heat, but nonetheless, a lot of good ideas. And one thing that we didn't touch on was the Pink Whitney party. And Mr. Pink Whitney himself, I'm sure you had a blast, but talk about, I want to quickly touch on before I hand it over to Whit here, the whole Barstool team and what they mean to our podcast and what they've meant in the growth of you know, what we do here at Chiclets. Like, we're never leaving Barstool. They have supported us through and through thick and thin. And the fact that the entire staff, they grind it out in order to put on that type of event for our fans, it means the world to me. Like, I'm not going to get too emotional talking about it, but like, I cried with my parents yesterday just about like how grateful that we should be that we've found ourselves in this situation. So it's fucking crazy. So I want to thank you to all of them, like NB, your team, Erica, all the people they've hired to help out with Pink Whitney. And I know I was mentioning the concert that they helped through on. Like, you went to that Riverworks venue and like the pink carpet they had laid out for people to take pictures, the backdrop to where Dante and Boston Levi were playing. Like, everything was so thought out and so detailed. And like, you could just tell by the reaction of everybody who showed up that they were just like, they were overwhelmed and they were overjoyed that we'd brought in something like that to Buffalo, and they executed it to a T. So Whit, Mr. Pink Whitney, I'll give it to RA to toss it over to you, my friend.
And of course, last but not least, the Whit Dog, Ryan Whitney. How'd you enjoy yourself this week, my friend? Coaching up a storm, I noticed.
I am so hungover. Maybe one of the worst 2-day hangovers known to man. I had a dog, Yoshi, and 2 kids in my face this morning. Good morning, guys. I love you. These Chiclets Cups are killing me softly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'll say, There is no other ball hockey, street hockey, whatever hockey tournament in the world where people get this buckled. I mean, we show up there at 8:30 every morning, 9:30. By noon, people are buckled, having an absolute blast, music pumping. That's the only bad thing about the Big Deal Selects and the Barstool games. You got to turn off the music around the whole facility because we're filming and we can't, we don't have the rights, need to have better volume for the participants, but the music's bumping. We got the dunk tank going. We got the simulator. I was in the simulator one day for an hour and a half. I basically got a lesson. I came out of there leaking. Somebody said, "Oh, you played in one of the games?" I said, "No, I just hit 3 woods for an hour and a half." There was little kids waiting ahead. I go, hold on. I got to work on this swing. But the whole event, now, the coolest part of the event for me was the fact that we finally got to release and talk about our big news in terms of our new beer, Big Deal Brewing. What an absolute pleasure it has been to work with a guy like Biz, who's now dove into a beer and something, we got the Pink Whitney. It's amazing. Can't say thank you enough to everyone who buys sports, drinks it. But it's nice for some people who aren't necessarily hard alcohol drinkers who like a nice lager to now be able to, if they want, give our beer a try and support the pod in a different way. So Biz has put so much time and effort into doing this, and it came out great. We got to thank Labatt. And I know we're just chucking around thank yous, but when you're in our situation, like Biz said, you feel truly grateful for everyone. This announcement of this beer was the funniest fucking 10 minutes of my life. I felt so bad for you, Biz. At the same time, I was ready to sprint and jump into a dumpster. We had about 800, it felt like, rabid, lunatic hockey bros screaming, wondering what our surprise would be, only to get out there and have Biz be practicing and trying to figure out what he was going to say in terms of our big announcement, only to have the microphone not work.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. It couldn't have
we are getting booed by these fans. Biz goes, "Quiet down, everyone." They're like, "Boo, shut up. Fuck you, Biz." Oh. I look over. I'm on the stage. I said, Thank God I'm not the one doing this talking. I would be red-faced, even more red-faced than I am after a usual wet sunburn. I look over. I'm thinking, who is going to fix the fucking audio? Is there an audio guy from this place? I see Ashley. She works for Barstool. She's just twisting the wire. She's never even worked with any audio equipment. I ran off the stage. I said I had enough. Grinnell goes, "Where are you going?" I go, "I'm out of here. This is fucking embarrassing. I can't do this."
And then I knew right away. I'm like, oh, I can't wait till Whit to just give it to me on the podcast come Tuesday.
But it's not even giving it to you, and it's not even giving it to the people who set it up.
No,
because they tested the mics and it all worked. But then you get all these people in there, and then the funniest part was
it was Chicago all over again. We did a live
flashbacks to Chicago, dude. I was having flashbacks, the same feeling of me too. People are looking at me. I want to throw up. I think in Chicago, I was yelling at you, Grinnelli, but you're like, it was just so typical Chiclets to have this awesome moment only to not be able to tell anyone about it.
Well, we get to now.
But we get to now, and in truly classy fashion, I think RA and myself, we both did it for a little bit, but Biz and Merles served beers since we weren't able to talk and tell everyone about it. You guys were bartenders for, I think, close to 2.5, 3 hours. Yeah. You guys must have poured. Now, we'll get into the fact that Biz had no clue how to pour a beer out of a draft. I'm talking, dude. This guy is holding a mug directly beneath the spout.
No.
Busy.
When you first crack it, it's all foam. So when that started when it wasn't kicking like that at the beginning and it started coming out smoother, I know that you tilt the mug and it goes to the side. Come on, I know how to pour a beer. You probably just caught me off the original couple pours where I had to get rid of all the foam.
See, I saw you handing out literally glasses of like Duff foam from The Simpsons. And then I was like, what's this guy doing? Does he know you have to angle the mug? Meanwhile, I'm giving out Pink Whitney shots. Dude, they were... Buffalo is the drunkest city in the country. Oh, yeah. I will 100%. Argue that with anyone. Those people are raging alcoholics in a great way. If that could be a positive, it is. But they are drunks.
I'll take 2 weeks in Vegas over 4 days in Buffalo. That's a fact. That is a fact, RA.
I was pouring. I had like 4 plastic cups at a time. Just let it run, just one after the other. And I was pouring until the keg was done. I was like telling the Bob, I'm like 7's kick, buddy. We need to change it. Like I was working there for fucking 6 years or something.
But let's dive into it a little bit, guys. About a year ago, we got together with Labatt and we kind of agreed that we were going to start this venture together. We were going to create Big Deal Brewing, and we were thinking about what we should call it. And of course, us all the time on the podcast saying, not a big deal, not a big deal, not a big deal. And that banner being behind me, it was just the nostalgia. And I think that it was Jeff who originally was like, what about Big Deal Brewing? And I said, right away. I was like, that's fucking genius. And it's something that you don't necessarily even need to listen to the podcast for it to maybe pop off the shelf. And then on top of that, we were fortunate enough, and going back to Barstool, they have a graphic design artist who we hammered back and forth. We must have done 4 or 5 different calls, 16 different back and forths on how to establish the logo. That's the first thing you see. We wanted to give it this throwback type of presence where it wasn't this crazy looking can. It was just boom. Big Deal Brewing, grabbing a couple BDs with the boys, throwing back the big deals. So we thought it had such a good ring to it. And then on top of that, of course, finding a beer. And we agreed on the original Golden Ale was the one we decided on. We wanted something that was going to be crushable. When I sit down and I watch a hockey game, and I know that the trends are moving away from beer. I don't give a flying fuck what the trends are saying. Hockey fans are beer drinkers.
They like beer.
That is a fact. And I wanted something that was crushable. Maybe not. I didn't want a crazy amount of hops. Those are ones that maybe you could drink 1 or 2 of, because I know that the IPAs are very popular right now. I wanted something crushable
with flavor. Biz, not like
I kind of described it, and Biz, correct me. It's like, it's in between a Labatt Blue Light or any other light beer you want to mention that's not as good as Labatt Blue Light, and an IPA that sometimes could scare people off. Some people love IPAs, some people don't. It's right in between. And actually, I have said that I think a couple people agreed. Very similar to a Kona Big Wave that I've always really liked. I don't know if you've ever had that, Biz,
yes,
but a very tasteful, impressive beer, and right in between the kind of extremes of light and really heavy. Right.
Yeah. And definitely Whit, and Big Wave's definitely a beer that I respect. Although it's a lager, I really like Yingling. I didn't want you to drink 12 of them and feel like you have a loaf of bread in your stomach. It has it's got a great malt taste to it and has a beautiful citrus finish. It doesn't linger too long. Guys, I love it. And it took us a while to hammer it out with the brewmaster at Labatt, but we finally got to where it needed to be. And I am so over the moon about this product, and I cannot wait for all of you to try it. It's going to come out in limited states in October, right as the hockey season is launching. It will be available probably in around 25 different states in a ton of different distributors. I think Walmart's going to carry it in some places. So you're going to be able to find it wherever you are in these states. And I believe come March, it'll be available in about 25 of the how many states are there? 52 states?
50, bro.
Check.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
Here we
Hey, he's
go.
Canadian.
Here we go. Here we go.
There's 15 provinces, right?
I was going to say, how many provinces?
I'm kidding.
I think there's 10 and 2 territories. I mean, I could be wrong about that too, though.
There's one thing people keep asking. We call it a beer venture, or we're calling it a beer company. And why don't you explain that? How we're not stopping at the Golden Ale. Like, we're going to keep making different beers throughout this whole partnership.
Absolutely. And that's, yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, G. So we obviously wanted to start out with one that was going to be the main theme of one that's going to be around forever. We're going to do different types of projects. Like, we're not going to tell you what's next. We've already started sampling and carving out what is going to be next. These might come with limited drops in the summertime. They might come with limited drops throughout the holiday season, but that's why we called it Big Deal Brewing, not Big Deal Brew. So that's what's so cool about Labatt is they were also willing to listen to that, and they were very gung-ho about not just stopping at doing one. So we have more projects on the go with this. We're very, very excited at the way it was received and the positivity online. And I really hope that you guys enjoy it when you do get a chance to try it. There's a reason I was pouring beers for 2.5 hours. People kept coming back. We gave everybody these engraved mugs at the event, hopefully to make up for the fact that they couldn't hear what the fuck was even going on and what this thing was to begin with. But you
know what I could hear though?
What's that?
I could hear RA's war cry. Can we go into that, RA?
Yeah,
that might have been you telling me that story in the state you were in was one of the most amazing 7 minutes of my life.
I'll get to that in 1 sec. We got to pay the bills real quick first. Another Chiclets Cup means another weekend of Pink Whitney celebrations for not only the winners, but for everyone else of age who wanted to get that 5 times distilled vodka infused with fresh pink lemonade flavor. The stuff was flowing all weekend. It was great to whack back a few with the many fans who came, whether they played, participated, whatever. Awesome time. So congrats to all the trophy winners this year. We hope you enjoyed the victory, and we hope you enjoyed the Pink Whitney as well. Find Pink Whitney at your local bar and ring up some with a shot or some club soda. And to get back to your story, Whit, yes, incredible experience I had. We just did the beer announcement, and per usual, our fantastic listeners, you know, they give us the call. They hold up a pen or a joint or whatever, and went outside with them all, and I turned around, and then, you know, there's, 7 or 8 and 9 native fellas and from the Mohawk tribe, and we just had an all-time smoke session, just a complete blowout. And a couple of them says, "RA, we need you to do a chi first." I was like, "What's that?" And they, it's like you said, it's a war cry, and I got to see it one more time before I got to get this right. So they showed me again, and I'm not going to do it here because wouldn't feel right doing it without the guys.
Is there video of this? Do we know?
No, there wasn't video. Pasha tried to get me to do it drunk on video in a bar, and I just didn't like. I think he was trying to make me feel.
No, you had your moment.
Good job, Pasha. Good job.
Like that.
Yeah, it was like it didn't feel appropriate to not do it with the guys who asked me to do it. I know it's a sacred thing, and it just didn't feel like right to not do it with them. So they say, "RA, we need a chi out of you before you go." And I said, "Let me see another one." And I belted it out, and they went nuts, man. They started high five me, and it was just this real cool experience. And like they're like, "All right, you're gonna get a res card. You're not a member of the res and all this stuff."
Yeah,
you're like Costner in Dances with Wolves.
It was funny, and that's the thing too. We were able to joke around and laugh, and all this sort of like third rail humor you don't think you can make. And we were making those type of jokes, and everybody laughed. Nobody was offended, and I came back, and it was just like sort of a profound experience to kind of do that. And I came in and filled you guys in on the story.
Can I ask you a question?
Please do.
Do you think that was maybe some of the strongest weed you've ever smoked?
Oh, I told him, man, that you
Without
guys don't fuck around.
Oh, you smoked a 2G.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah,
and then they gave me a
were.
gift bag the next night, and oh my God, put me right to sleep.
The guy came up to me the next day and he goes, "I'm part of the crew that crippled RA with that unbelievable weed." I go, "Hey man, much love, dude. That's respect." I go, "I couldn't even sniff smoking that with you. I wouldn't be able to talk to anyone the rest of the week."
Didn't matter how much weed you smoked, though. Nobody was more crippled than Terry Ryan Sr. on that night. He out crippled you. He's the type of guy who refuses to eat when he's drinking, so it doesn't ruin his buzz. So that just explains how. And finally, towards the end of the night, he tried to eat a pretzel, but most of it was on his face and in his mouth. So and keep in mind, we're talking about Thursday here. We haven't even dropped the ball or puck yet. And even before that,
what about Wednesday, Biz? We shut the lights out the first night. Biz, Pasha, and myself at 1:30 in the morning Wednesday night are having a cigar in a legitimate lightning storm under a highway bridge. I'm like, maybe don't go this hard before the tournament even begins. As much fun as we had, serious regret on my own terms in terms of not sleeping Wednesday evening.
And people might be wondering why we were there so early. We actually got there on Tuesday. We were able to check out the venue. And on Wednesday, we had the honor of playing a sandbagger at Brookfield. Unbelievable course, incredible hospitality. And we played with Okposo and Molson. I learned that Okposo is not pronounced Okposo. The K is silent.
Yeah.
Okay. That's so I learned a lot in the 4 days I was in Buffalo, and even so much so that he was kind enough to sit down with us while we were licking our wounds on Thursday morning for an interview, which will be dropping later in this episode. So we got so much accomplished in such a short amount of time. That's why it feels like we were in Buffalo for a month.
Yeah, it was a long few days. Also want to say shout out to Matthew Barnaby. He showed up at the speakeasy because before we did the big deal Bruin drop, they had us. It's a speakeasy. It's supposed to be secretive, but they hosted us in there for a little while to be able to sample our beer. Matthew Barnaby stopped by. And also then the game start Thursday, man. I mean, just a
Friday.
Tremendous. Yeah, Friday. Yeah, Thursday was the meet and greet party that night at the Labatt Brew House. Tremendous turnout there. And then everybody kind of just split up and went to their own bars or whatever after. And then Friday, the games kicked off, had the opening ceremonies. And, of course, I was coaching the Barstool team. Big deal selects were going on, all kinds of stuff going on all day. What was maybe the highlight of the weekend for you, G? Like, what was the most impressive thing about the Riverworks that you saw?
Putting up 4 in the final game when you were a traitor and jumped on the other team. RA, we have our Barstool video, and we fire RA before the last game because we're coming off a championship. We go 0-2.
What's he supposed to do?
RA jumps to the other team to coach the other team, so I put 4 in his face and then threw my hat at it as I escaped by the bench.
So you went 1-3, and RA managed to go 0-4.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'd say that was the highlight of my trip.
Yeah, well, I mean, the team I coached, the Power Bottoms was their name. They had 4 guys on the bench. You guys had like 17 guys and 8 healthy scratches. So I was pretty proud of the team I coached.
Going into that final game, though, hearing that they were 0-3, we were also 0-3. We had that, hey, boys, 50-50 here. We're not skating too hard here. So it was nice.
In terms of the Barstool squad, very happy to catch up with Scott Darling. I hadn't seen him since Vegas, the last Chiclets Cup. Great guy. We've had him on the show before, and he's gotten into the stand-up comedy. He's doing phenomenal. I was talking to him about it. He's actually going on tour, opening up for a guy. He's making some money doing it. He feels super comfortable. He had his first bomb, he told me, which I think officially means you're a stand-up comic because you have to go through that at least once, if not many times in your career. But a great couple hours I kind of spent talking to him and hearing all about it. But I gotta mention, he is the worst roller hockey player I've ever seen in my life. The fact he played in the NHL, I know he was a goalie. Holy shit. I had to bench him when I helped out coach the first game. I left your team so fast, it was like a sneeze. I saw how bad you were. But the first game, I said, you got to get Darling off the ice. He's crushing the Barstool squad.
Great team guy, though. Having him in the locker room is... Hey, we also added Merles to the team, which was a huge addition. He was my D partner throughout the tourney. He's making line adjustments on the go, telling guys they're benched. Merles will be on the Barstool team forever.
Yeah, he couldn't hack it on the ball hockey squad. Couldn't play through a broken toe. But guys, like, I mean, what else is there to say about this? I mean, and then I guess the final day, Saturday, Noseface. Incredible. He ended up didn't show up.
Us.
He's living rent free in my head right now. Hard fought game to the finish. His wife went into labor 2.5 weeks early, so he actually missed all the round robin games, and it was unsure whether he was going to even come or not. So he ends up showing up on the Saturday for the semis and the finals. Leaves his newborn and wife. He said that she gave him the green light and that he had to go. Came and represented the ball hockey community well, gets the W, 3 in a row for him. And I guess there's just more work to do on our side for the big deal selects.
If you have a child and the next day go to the Chiclets Cup, you're the most tapped, fucked up piece of shit of all time. Now, listen, all this guy does is win. He could say to me, Whit, shut the fuck up. What do you know? I know I got kids. And if I left the next day to go play ball hockey, I'd come home to a locked up house with a new lock and maybe a new last name on my kids. So good for you for being a winner. But you are an absolute lunatic, Noseface.
I could see you going to the range the day after you.
I was just thinking that.
Look, it's 6 minutes from my house for 35 minutes, not a 7-hour drive to Buffalo, followed by an entire day of ball hockey drinking and then missing the kids like first breath.
Well, to be fair, we flew him out, and then he ended up missing his flight home because he was out celebrating his victory with the cup.
I was with him.
Got a ride home with Bobby Hauser, who drove him from Boston.
I was with him at that, whatever that last bar was. We were all celebrating, drinking. I said, where you staying? He says, I don't have a room. I says, buddy, I got a couch. I'll be more than happy to put you up because we're on the same flight home. I says, here's my number. And I didn't hear from him at all. I texted him at like 6 a.m. He was supposed to be on our flight with me and Whit were on the same flight. Didn't see him at the airport. And then I talked to Hauser on Instagram. He's like, oh yeah, he never showed up for his flight, and he had to drive home hungover from fucking Buffalo.
7 hours.
He actually was shotgun. He didn't have to drive, but hungover 7 hours ride home, all banged up.
He probably couldn't even leave the hospital with the new kid till he friggin' got there either.
And then he
just
had to
stuck.
Get home to Leominster, and then I think he had to go wherever he left his car, probably close to Logan. Then he had to go from Leominster to Logan to get his car to bring back to Leominster, which, you know,
I would say the most preposterous thing about the whole weekend, and Whit, I'll hand it over to you on this, was these 3 seekers that were there.
Oh,
I lost my mind on them. I lost it.
There were 3 seekers, and just tell them the stuff that they had.
Baseballs, dude. They hadn't sent him baseballs.
So I saw them, and I'm like, all right, seekers are here. I said, I'm walking up to our locker room. You know, Barstool and Big Deal Selects had the locker room side by side. So they had one guy had like 4 or 5 pictures in a jersey. The other guy had a couple jerseys and numbers, whatever. I said, all right, boys, there you go. You got that. Good for you. I go up to the locker room. I might have been up there 3 minutes. I come out. They have 14 pieces each of new like stuff with my name on it, hockey cards, t-shirt jerseys. I'm like, get away from me. I'm like, no, I already told you no. Get away from me. I recognized one of the guys is this tall goon, and the other guy was this short, fat goon. It was like the perfect combo. I don't even remember the third guy because I'm like, I will never forget your faces. We come back the next day. I'm signing a little kid's jersey, and all of a sudden I turn. These 2 goons, they got 6 baseballs each in my face. The father of the little kid said, "Did you play baseball?" I said, I said, I looked at him, I go, get the fuck away from me. They're like, whoa. They just signed 2 each. Shut up. Seekers are the biggest pieces of shit going. I'm telling you. I go, what are you guys doing with this? Oh, nothing. I go, why are they baseballs? Oh, you said you played in high school. Shut up. I played for fucking 1 year in high school. There's no way you knew that. RA never said he played baseball. Why do you have 15 baseballs for him to sign?
They made me sign baseballs.
And dude,
now he can't even palm a baseball.
Their hands are shaking like they're hung over. Like you just like how nervous they are. Like their hands are shaking when they hand you this shit too. I'm like, one more. And then it's like 4 more after that.
I might have signed
Gretzky might have stabbed them. Gretzky might have stabbed them.
I think I signed every single thing that they had other than the 3 cards at the end just for principle. And they were still asking me to sign them. It was preposterous.
Yeah,
they went up again to me. The last day they went up again. I gave it one of these. And the guy's like this.
Oh, shit. You mentioned we got Kyle Okposo coming. We also have our buddy Terry Ryan we're going to get to in a second to go over his experience.
Yeah, he recaps the team. He recaps a great job doing the Big Deal Selects.
Exactly.
Discussion.
We're going to get to that in a second. One other thing I got to do, Biz, not only coach a couple different teams, I got to do color commentary for the final game, the Chiclets Cup.
You were pretty buckled and raspy, weren't you?
I was raspy. I wouldn't say necessarily buckled. I was definitely
I don't think
raspy.
he was buckled. He wasn't buckled because he thought we were doing the pod.
Oh, okay.
No, exactly. You know, I definitely conserve myself, but I want to say thanks to Jack Cruiser. Tremendous pipes on this kid. They asked me. Actually, they came in the locker room and the other guy says, "Have you been drinking already?" I was like, "Oh, I had 1 or 2 when we were taping the earlier game for the camera." He's like, "Well, have a few more before you come on." He was like encouraging me to have a couple, but that was a thrill, man. It was great to do actual color commentary. We had some instant.
All right, that's WNY.
Jack, be careful what you wish for.
Too. That's WNY Athletics. They were awesome. They came and did it for free. We just had to make a donation to their organization, and they were awesome.
Yeah, they were awesome guys. So, what do you think, boys? Should we send it over to Terry Ryan?
Yeah, I think once we talk to Terry, guys, we could kind of put a bow on the third Chiclets Cup, and we can get into some big time hockey news that broke with the big trade. So listen to Terry Ryan. Please enjoy. I'm sure Ari's got an ad beforehand, but it's been great to get to know him. So I think this interview is pretty interesting. And after that, no more Chiclets Cup for a little bit.
Oh, one more last final note, but just want to let you know his interview is brought to you by Shopify, the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow your business. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big business. So upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Shopify offers online retailers a suite of services including payments, marketing, shipping, and customer engagement tools. Connect with your customers, drive sales, manage your day-to-day. Shopify instantly lets you accept all major payment methods. Shopify has thousands of integrations and third-party apps, from on-demand printing to accounting to advanced chatbots and beyond. So go to shopify.com/chiclets, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/chiclets right now. And now enjoy Terry Ryan. All right, to help us recap a wild weekend in Buffalo is our longtime pal, Tia, Uncle T, whole bunch of other nicknames we can't say. Terry Ryan, how are we doing, my friend? How was your weekend in Buffalo at the Chiclets Cup?
And captain of the Big Deal Selects as well.
I wasn't sure. It was unofficial at first, so now you're making me captain. I appreciate that. And first,
the captain has to fall on the sword, though.
Well, I mean, I don't mind falling on that sword. That was, had it gone the other way, it was tough to take in Vegas. When you go out there and battle like we did with a bunch of guys. Look, first of all, I want to say thanks to Spittin Chiclets, okay? Everybody involved, and the city of Buffalo, everybody at Riverworks, everybody involved. It was absolutely, to say a success would be the biggest understatement in my ball hockey life. There was, boys, we're getting better. It's getting snappier. There's bubble hockey. There's more food. There's more drinks. There's more people. I think you guys have got an unreal thing going on, and I appreciate being part of it. That's the first thing. Secondly, I want to say congrats to the Brick Squad for coming out, playing hard, and could have gone either way, but they got the win, didn't they? So congrats, guys, and very good ball hockey players over there. Great, some of the best in the world, and some of my really good friends. So going back to your question, what did I think of the weekend? Thought it was a success on every level, even though we lost, guys. We can get into this more if you want, but given, I knew that the guys I was bringing, I know that they're some of the best in the world. I knew that.
They were awesome guys too.
And good for content and everything. And you're not always looking for that, but it helps that they're really good friends, guys. And we're, to extend the thank you, I already have, but listen, it means a lot because those are my real good friends. I didn't just randomly pick people that I thought were great players. I knew they were great. I knew they'd be great on camera, and they're real. We've had a journey, each and every one of those players. It's not the first time I've played with them. Some of them for more than 2 decades. It's and this is one of the best parts of that journey that we've ever experienced. So
one of those guys, probably the biggest mutant when the nighttime hits, when he's drinking, is Bishop.
Oh my!
What's the backstory on this guy? He's like the gremlin from the Lord of the Rings when he gets a few pops in him late.
My precious.
Yeah, I didn't know how that was going to go. He's Bish
amazing. I love him.
A bunch of booze and a VIP room and Spittin Chiclets platform. I didn't know. I knew he wouldn't embarrass. I just figured this is going to be situation overload, sensory overload, like it often is for Senior when he walks into a room full of people from Hamilton or Minnesota or somewhere that he played. But Bish, always underrated at everything he does. Now, he really is one of the best ball hockey players ever. I think he will be in the Hall of Fame soon. He was even at ice hockey, right? If you look at his numbers, he played junior A, he went to Summerside, and like 100 points, like always. He was smallish in the era. Bish is 2 years younger than me, so it was still part of that, be big and tough kind of power forward, trumps the small forward era. Although it didn't stop him. I don't think people gave him enough of a shot to go on and play university and those things. But anyway, got into the ball hockey. And for years, like I said, we've got a national championship together. We won a Worlds in 2018 in Bermuda. He's always my line mate at these things. And we've shared the ride together. Bish is he'll do anything for you. The kind of guy, if I don't know, your car broke down at 4 a.m. and you're 3 hours away, you call Bish first because he's going to help you out. And he's very emotional on and off the floor. So, he wants to win. And he plays hard and he parties hard, man. Like us all, like Bish will drink till 5 a.m, but if the game's at 9, he's going to be there. He's going to be there first. He's going to be getting the boys going. He doesn't take a back seat, and he approaches it head on, and I really appreciate that about him. He's a little much at times, guys, but he's a great teammate, as you notice.
I think it would be safe to say that Witt's favorite player on the Big Deal Selects, who you brought in, was Pender.
Oh my!
Now this is a big defenseman who he played in the Quebec Junior League with the Moosehead. because we ended up sending out a post about him, and then of course a picture of him going after Nose Face Killer in the finals. After
what a picture, by the way!
Oh,
what a picture!
Great pick. Terry
And this guy, I mean, I said it on the bench when I was helping coach. He's Victor Hedman with a mean streak. I mean, I was more impressed with him. Like con man, what a player. Some of the guys in that other team, great. But this guy, he's got to be one of the best defensemen in ball hockey history because he shoots at 108 miles an hour. He hammers guys. He blocks every single shot that goes near him and was overall dominant. Not to mention there's a video of him beating up 5 people, including 2 referees, and I think being banned for life from international competition. Is that not the case?
No, that's the case. And that, guys, the next time I come on, I'll explain that story, but we'll run out of time. But Pender, because of that happened in 2013. Okay. He's a tough guy. Yes, but first and foremost, he's just a great player. He's good positionally. He's strong. That shot, same thing. Like we had the Worlds in 2013, like I said, here in St. John's earlier in that tournament that he lost his mind. We had we had a skills competition promoting the game, and he shot at almost 109. Like, it was crazy. So, but he's also good. Like Bobby Hauser would tell you, who's another guy on our team, like when they came across each other in the Worlds, when they were hosted here in St. John's in junior, it was 2006, 2007, I believe. Pender had 4. They won 4-3. He's always been a great D. And in hockey, the only knock, I watched him all the way, guys. I could tell at 16 years old, this guy's going to play in the NHL. But I think Pender lacked a bit of drive early. And, it's not necessarily a knock against the guy. He's a great friend. He'd never do you wrong. But I don't think early on, like he was as intent, like if he showed that intensity in junior all the time, I think maybe he would have gone further. Now here I am talking about a guy who played 6 years, 7 years pro, who had a great career. So success is in the eyes of the beholder. Not everybody's going to make the NHL.
The only problem
but you could say in the sense that you look back on your career, I think maybe Pender looks and maybe regrets a little bit how much time he devoted to being a real professional. Do you know what I'm saying? Would that be fair? Almost with you, like, fuck, if I could do things over, I'd probably change a couple things.
Yeah,
very fair.
You boozed during your career like we did at Chiclets Cup all weekend.
Well, now we're going to get into that. We can get into that too. But, as far as Pender, yeah, and, he's, ball hockey, he really came into his own because he is one of the best in the world. And you could make an argument. You could make an argument for a large part of that. He's in his 30s, but for his 20, you could make an argument he's probably the best in the world if you took strength and pure skill. And in ball hockey, guys, I've played only a couple tournaments 3-on-3 before this. We play 5-on-5. When I say we win nationals and provincials and worlds and all this shit, that is 5-on-5. And what happens in ball hockey, the major difference, very, very similar, is that once you gain the blue line, you can bring it all the way back to the red line. So the offensive zone becomes half the rink. Now, when you're playing when we go overseas, like I'm going to play the Masters in Prague, outside of Prague, Czech Republic in September. So we're going to go there and it's going to be an Olympic rink. So now if you got Pender back there with that cannon, now I get the blue line and now the whole thing shifts and I get it back to him. It's just getting open for that crazy shot. And me as the guy who plays in front of the net in those situations, whether it was Team Canada, the provincial team, Newfoundland Black Horse, for all those years, I was in front kind of so I have firsthand experience, how hard the shot is, but how talented he is. And our go-to for all those years with great players, you ask Newfoundland, Bish, Zach O'Brien, Marcus Power, Connor, there's about, a dozen or more cut from the same cloth. You're going to see a very similar player, but Pender to me stands out as, and a lot of people would say me, but he's arguably the best player from Newfoundland. You could really say that.
I think people will be pissed if we don't get the story of why he was banned, though, quickly. If you can kind of summarize it in a few minutes.
First of all, we hosted the Worlds in 2013. Okay, so we'd won Newfoundland. Pender was on my team. Teddy Purcell was on my team. Adam Party in 2010 when we won the national championship. It was the first time in over 20 years Newfoundland had done it. So we were riding a high. We had 6 players playing on the national team. And like I said before, Newfoundland doesn't have a chance in everything, but we have a chance in ball hockey. Where here we are hosting. The rink is packed to start the game. And they started 5 Newfoundlanders. The place is cheering. They're singing the Ode to Newfoundland, and we're playing the Slovaks, right? Not the Czech Republic, it was the Slovaks. So The ball drops to start the game. Everybody is excited. They don't move. They don't move. I've never seen it. And they just start backing up. Okay. So we tell them, I don't know what's happening, but quickly we realize they're waiting for someone to take a penalty. So we dump it in, go get it. As soon as there's any friction whatsoever, down. Guy goes down, gets up. Now, both referees, I love the international committee. I got people there that are my friends, but both of them didn't speak English, and that was a mistake. Because I'm assistant captain. I go over, I'm talking. I'm saying, come on, I can't even speak my point now.
Neither do you guys.
Yes. What's that?
He said, neither do you guys.
Yeah, that's true. And I am speaking Newfoundlandese of all things.
Loyal to the
but I'm slowing it down for this guy. I'm like, I'm really breaking it down. I'm telling him, you've got to help us out here. Anyway, they do it again. It's 2-0. They relied on their power play. Now, we had a better team than they did. Anybody could say that, but I'm telling you, anybody in the rink would see what was happening. It was so unsportsmanlike. They go up. I score 2-1, I believe it is. Now it goes 3-1. And a guy comes right over, and they're clearly telling us, some of them know English, right? And they're taunting us. Refs turn their back. They're over talking about something. And a guy, hawks a loogie right into my face, right into my eyes.
What?
Okay, right into my eyes.
Get the fuck
we go out
of here.
No, I'm serious. I'm taking the draw on that video. So I go out, whatever it was, they score. We pulled a goalie, whatever we did, and then go on, they score. So now it's 4-1. I believe, and I'm looking at the clock, and there's only like 13 seconds left. So I went over to the referee. I said, don't try. And I look at Pender going up right wing. Like I said, he's got a long fuse, but now that was always the case. He's got a long, even Bantam. Once you poke the beer, it's over. I know it. So I'm saying to the ref, don't drop the biscuit. Don't drop it. And he's putting his arm up to give me a 10. Now, meanwhile, I'm going, you know what? Fuck you then. I'm trying to save the game. Pender never played right wing in his life. Anyway, the puck dropped, the ball drops, and you can see right before it, I take my stick and I chop like I chop no space. I chop the guy that I'm playing against, chop his stick out of the way like something's going to happen. I'm kind of saying, you know what? Let's get on board with this. Fuck them. I'm got a fuse too, man. I'm pissed. We're hosting. We could have won a world championship at home. It's one thing to lose, but it got stolen in an ignorant and unsportsmanlike way. So he's saying, fuck this. Half the rink is our buddies. He grabbed the guy, and I could see it. Once he started going, he didn't care anymore. I'm like, if the guy fought back, even that would have been over there, but Pender just had all that. He had half a rink to take out his frustration. I was half scared to go over there. I just watched it happen. I was pissed off. I'm not saying people are going to give me these fucking messages now. Still not justified. Maybe not, but I'm saying there's a reason. There's a fucking reason. It didn't happen out of nowhere. He apologized for it. He got suspended. He served the time, as they say. But he's still one of the fucking best ball hockey players I've ever seen. And tell me that he didn't control that game, and you'd be lying.
I fucking love it. I love your passion. I love your emotion. And we saw a lot of that after the final. Now, you were getting into it with one guy that he actually played in Vegas, but wasn't playing.
Yeah, he's one of my good friends.
What's his name?
James Chicky Mentis. You could make an argument he's the best ball hockey player ever from Canada. You could. If you went on my first tourney was 03. He was either him or Burroughs was MVP, and the other one was top forward or top defenseman. He played D. And he's got, I don't know, maybe 10 national titles, like 3 or 4 worlds. Chicky Mentis. He's everybody who ever heard of the ball hockey world in Canada knows exactly who I'm talking about. He's been my roommate. We've traveled all over the world together. This is what I'm saying. The guys we played against were great players, Biz. And I want to please, before we go, ask me about how you and Oli and fucking Jacob did, because I'm so proud of that. You have no idea. You were playing against guys who have played their whole lives. Those guys grew up together. Jordan Crocker, the second guy that I slashed, that was a little bit much. I get it, but it's intense. It's a fucking intense game. Whatever. I tried to hit his mitt, but it's an intense game. I got 2. They didn't score on the shot. That's the penalty. But anyway, Jordan was like, I was like mentoring him. Chicky played with us in Newfoundland in 2015 in Ottawa, and Jordan was my roommate. He was a 17-year-old kid, right? Bringing him along to play and eventually playing the Worlds, and he won it this year. Half their team did. So I was all right. I came back and I thought about it. That's what you want, though. No space.
I loved it.
Yeah. I thought no space, first of all, just called them out of nowhere and cut all his buddies. It's not quite the case. There's another whole side, and I'm not sure that he had a team. So, and those guys, I mean, you want it. We lost, but you know what people saw? The best fucking ball hockey 3-on-3 tournament in the world. We were playing those guys, and knowing what I know, Biz, and I'll get back there, but Jesus, we put on a clinic. But anyway, I was upset at Chicky because he kept riling me up. Look, if I wanted to hurt Noseface, I would have hurt him. You're not wearing shit. I've done it forever. The first one, you fake a big one, scare the shit out of them. The second one, you chop the flesh on the back of his calf. Third one, you open slap his shin. If you chop his shin, he's going to fucking go down with a broken leg. I know that shit. I know how to make it look good. Whatever, it went a little hard, but it's competition. And to be honest with you, Noseface, I told everybody, if the ball goes down by your feet and you're not wearing shin pads, it's part of the game. If I saw you in hockey not wearing gloves, I chop your fingers. It's the playoffs. That's the way it goes. So anyway,
wearing no shin pads to me, TR, kind of was a sense of like if you'd be willing to play a hockey game without your chin, your chin strapped on, or if you were a guy who pulled up the jersey a ton and showed you all your wrist, it was almost just a little kind of like a little fuck you.
A little fuck you. And on the way down there, I made a video, and I was kind of kidding, but we're going to play intense. Like Pender plays a perfect intense game. It's usually not real rough, but I did. I mean, I kind of threatened him. I said, if you don't wear no shin pads, I'm going to chop you. He was the only one in the game not wearing them. It's not like it's this optional thing. You go to the world, you have to have them on. He knows that shit. You can't be running around there with no shin pads on. And he's after my taunt. So I did take that a little much. Honestly, if he had worn them, I would have given him a little love tap and made it look good. But I was pissed off. And that, I'm not going to apologize for being competitive. That's what makes me me. That's what makes us us. But for the most part, the boys, we all had beers with them after. Chicky, I think he's also real competitive. He's one of the best players ever. I think now he's in his mid to late 50s. So he probably missed.
That guy is holy fuck. He's a fucking handsome guy. He keeps in good shape, eh?
He does, yeah. And he's usually a great fella. Jesus. So I'll give him a mulligan on this one. But because again, I know, the chops were a little hard. If it was too much, I would have got thrown out. Chicky, you had 2 penalty shots. It wasn't a very great veteran. I banked on Moj stopping those, and it was 1-1. It could have been 3-1. That's the penalty. And I went over later and shook both of their hands. I apologized to everybody and congratulated them, and that's why I was pissed off. I said, Chicky, what the fuck do you want me to do on top of that? Suck your dick? Like, I'm sorry. You guys won. I'm acknowledging the better team won. Good luck. Here's a beer. Now, what the fuck do you want me to do beyond that?
Talk about our goalie MAJOR quickly. He was awesome. That was the one difference. We needed a goaltender, and we found one.
We did, and that's great because his competitive edge came back. Moj, you see, is a great goalie. I watched him growing up. He was one of those guys at 10 years old. You knew he was going to be a great goalie. When he had a successful career in the Q, he went on to play CIS and then Europe. But I don't think Moj wanted to give it up so early. But he got offered a great job in Halifax. That's what happened. So. And he would come back and he would be playing with us every year at the Nats. And he hasn't done that in a while because he just can't. So when I gave him the call to go, guys, like he was almost teary-eyed. Like I don't mind saying that. Like he was really, really appreciative and and he went down there.
That's what a Chiclets Cup will do to you, boys.
Well, hey, man, you're bringing guys out of retirement. You're giving them positive apples. What are you going to do? He just loved it. And I knew because I knew that about Moj, to be honest with you guys. I hadn't seen him play in 4 years, but I know Moj, and I knew he would go down there only bringing his A game. And I knew that he could pull off the only goalie I know that can go so hard and still get up. Because one thing to play guilty. Okay, dump it in and change. A goalie's job doesn't change, man. You got to stop that ball coming at you. I don't like to play baseball hungover, and because one little inch and you're off. Well, that's the same with a goalie, and I knew Moj could play hungover. I'm like, where are we going here? If we were going to the actual, say, world championship with anti-booze or anything, maybe it would have been different. I don't really know, actually. I would have taken Moj. I can't say I wouldn't have. But what I'm saying is that he's in a zone and he can drink all night and he can pull the Chiclets life. And I knew that not only would I knew he was in shape. I said, Moj, you're still in shape. You're in. If you're not, I said, I'm in shape. I play hockey all the time. I just lack in a game. So I knew taking him that he would be the best fit for our particular needs. And he played fucking lights out.
And Remy was the only other guy that wasn't there from the time before, who was also he was like a quiet guy. But the thing is, he played with us in Newfoundland Black Horse. We've picked him up before. I know Remy. I've scouted him. I've scouted for Canada for a while. Remy's from Winnipeg, and him
and Conman together, pretty special duo.
Yeah, it's a great duo. I knew that too, Biz. Now that you guys see it, see when Connor and Bobby were there. they were playing off each other in Vegas because they're great players. But when you go left shot, right shot, it totally changes, right? Because it's that tic-tac-toe, and you go tick, 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 tick. And then when it comes over, toe, boom. And that's what you're looking for. And I knew that Remy just played with Connor at the Worlds. I hadn't seen him in 2 years either, 3, I guess, pandemic. But I knew Remy was a good player and a very humble guy. And I thought he would fit in nicely with the egos, you know?
Oh, fuck. He was such a nice guy. And it was great to have that wrap-up dinner. And your old man came in and gave us the morale boost. He's like, his motor is unlike any person's I've ever seen. Like, how is he still going at that age the way that he goes?
Dude, I'd love to keep asking questions, but half of it's in me. So hopefully it carries over. I don't know, guys. And the funny thing is, we're going on these events. Like I told you, years ago, he made a promise to my mom because he was boozing too much. I was 7 years old, and he said, I'm only drinking on Fridays. So that's really, other than I took him on a cruise like in the late 90s, you know, the George Street Fest might happen, and he might have a few, but it's usually we pick a night, and it's Friday, and that's the deal, and he likes living by that. So the last 2 Chiclets Cups, I mean, I'm as surprised as you that he holds a hangover like he does, but and he loves to talk, guys. This has been... It's always been a little secret in Mount Pearl kind of thing. Well, Teddy Purcell told you guys about it, right, Purcell? Teddy told you guys, I'm sure that came up because it's almost a rite of passage if you're an athlete in Mount Pearl / St. John's. You drop by the Rhines on a Friday night at some point. So he loves the platform. He'll tell the same story 1,000 times. He just loves finding out about people.
Times.
And he's as interested in the people he's talking to. You'd never think it, but if you ever, you know, you go over, hey, so wow, you're selling burgers here. How long have you sold burgers? What kind of chips do you like with your burger? Back in Hamilton, I used to have burgers and chips all the time. What a coincidence. You're from Chicago. I used to play there. I'm like, Dad, relax a little bit. But I'm used to it. It's what makes him tick. And I know part of it is part of it's inherited, right? Because I'm the same way. I haven't let you guys speak.
No, TR. We love hearing this from you. Same way with your dad. When I got to meet him in Vegas and then just seeing him again in Buffalo this weekend, it was such a blast. And personally, to you, I want to say how happy I am for you because in some discussions we had, you know, I think you'd ran into a couple tough times. Shoresy has taken off. You're doing so well with your own podcast and social media. Shoresy's going to continue to crush it. And you mentioned to me some things you went through that are now finally kind of on the back end. And for me getting to know you, it's like that's why hockey's so great. I got to tell you, I'm very happy for you. And I know this makes no sense, but I'm like super proud of you. And it's really cool to see what you've turned the Big Deal Selects and the Chiclets Cup into, because not only is it an entertaining and very fun tournament, but content-wise, it's electric as well. So I'm really happy for you, and I'm really grateful that we've become friends, as RA I know feels, and Grinelli and Biz feel the same way.
Well, honestly, that makes me feel great, guys. I do feel like we're part of a family, and I listened to this almost from day one, and it you know, we have a lot in common, and I appreciate the kind words, but I'm proud to be part of this, and I don't.
And we're gonna get a win because now the losing makes the win when it happens that much sweeter. Correct?
Definitely, and I always find, I hate to say this. I was going to say, you know what I mean, because of that Game 7 loss, buddy. And then, you know, I get it. But, you know, there is something to be said in losing together, though, right? I mean, no one wants to say it right at the time. Nobody wants to say it. But there's something to be said. We left that room in Vegas, and again this time, a more of a unit after building more character. We know each other more. We're part of an essence of something bigger. That's what I feel. And to be just honestly included, because I do, man. I don't know what happened 5 years ago. Who knows? I heard of you guys, right? Good people. But right now we see that there's a lot of parallels mentally and physically. And, you know, I think as you get older, those things are more comforting. And you know, you don't have to seek out friends as you get older. I think this sort of thing happens more and more. And by extension, all the boys from Bobby Hauser to all the Newfoundlanders and Remy that we talked about, the boys love it, and it's a nice match.
Is the Big Deal Selects roster set? Are you guys adding anyone before the next one? Or are you guys going to run it back with the same crew?
Well, see, my thing, if I can, I always like to run it back. To me, there's a level of loyalty to things. And you know, I know that we're getting away from that in sports. Call me old school, okay? I'm the kind of guy that would take a little bit less money to sign somewhere, maybe. Not knocking anybody that didn't. I just, you know, it's in my heart. And I think that's a Newfoundlander looks at things a little bit different. Like I said, you go away and there's a Newfoundland bar in every province, but there's not necessarily, you know, a bar, a Saskatchewan bar. It's just, you know, we stick together. It's ingrained in us from the beginning. I don't know if that's, you know, living in small towns on the edge of cliffs with, you know, in crazy weather to make a living for most of our history. But point being, I want to run it back unless there's a reason that one of those guys can't get there. Guys, we just lost 5-4 and we nearly, I mean, the winning goal was my fault. So, you know, if the very guy who you were, I mean, I don't mind saying it. I don't mind saying it, right? It was 4-4. I off it up, down low, or whatever. It was a 2-on-1. I could have had him. But that's it. That's sports. If we had lost on a bigger level, or even if we'd gone down and it wouldn't have clicked off the floor. But I think you got what you wanted. We got what we wanted, other than the win. And Biz, let me elaborate on that right before I go here. We went down there again. The guys I took have all played on the world level at some point. So I thought legs might be a thing, but I knew everybody was in shape because it was a little bit older, but I don't really think that got us. We were tired, but I don't think anybody gave up. But Biz, you're playing out there. So you're 3/9, 1/3 of our team. You, Ole, and Jacob, okay? And your task is to go out there and not get slaughtered by a bunch of guys who've played together for a long time. They're all in the prime of their careers. They're younger. A lot of them just won a world championship, and all of them in the last few years have won a national championship, and you fucking hung with them. You hung with them. It wasn't like you were -6 and we lost 9.
I was hung all right.
Well, you were hung in many,
I will
say
ways. I'm going to have to get wheeled around in a wheelchair for another 4 days here. My body is just so fucking sore. Ball hockey is one of the hardest sports I've ever played.
But it wouldn't have been if you didn't put it all in. If you didn't fucking leave it all out there, it wouldn't have been. You'd be going, well, I'm fairly sore. You're fucking exhausted because we gave everything. And how do you not roll it back? 5-4 in the final, giving everything?
We're rolling it back, baby. We're rolling it back.
Terry, I got to ask you, how much has your life changed, if at all, in Newfoundland since Shoresy? I mean, I'm sure you get recognized more, but do people still treat you the same that have known you forever? Has it changed fundamentally at all?
Newfoundland is a different bird because people are used to me here. And St. John's isn't tiny. The whole metro area is probably 250,000. But I mean, people are generally happy for me, to be honest, you know, because it's not just that I'm on this show. It's not like I landed the Seinfeld 2 role. Like I'm playing a Newfoundlander. I'm speaking for all these people in many ways. That's why I'm but Jared and I, when he gives me the lines, I go back to him. And, you know, a couple times I might say, you know, early on in the show, Jared says, you know, you wouldn't call them Newfies, you know, if you did know, because some people here take that as a bit of an insult, right? And Tri-Cities say when I first left, it was a term of endearment. People didn't know the difference, but we're getting into that territory now that, hey, you dumb Newfie, like that's not good, or Newfie even. So, and Jared worked with me and he said, okay, maybe I'll put that in. He did right in the show. So we're very careful about how we project Newfoundland in the show because it's all on our shoulders and most of it's on mine. I'm the guy you see there. So people are very encouraging and they feel that they're in on it, you know, like, which is great. There was an alienating feeling when you come back as a first round pick and you're playing on a team that's half the province loves and they just want answers. What the fuck, man? What happened? What'd you do? But now as they're looking at this show go and, you know, my career's come and gone, but now I'm an author. I'm on this show and hockey's great. Most people here now go, hey, you know what? He played in the NHL where 20 years ago it was like, what are you doing wrong? And now they can share this experience. So I see someone at the bar now. It's only not so much, oh man, like what ended up happening in Montreal? It's like, fuck, I love Shoresy, T-Bone, keep it up, you know? So that's how it's changed here in Newfoundland.
Nice. And I don't know what the future holds, and I don't know what's been confirmed, but if there is a season 2 and if we're both in it together, I certainly hope we can share a scene in the next one. We weren't able to actually share any scenes in season 1, so hopefully Jared can get us in a scene in season 2. That'll be a lot of fun to do that.
I'm hearing from a few little birdies that you might get both wishes, but who knows? Cross fingers. But I've heard good things from people that might know, but who knows?
I can't wait to get back up there. It was a treat to do that. So, any other questions, boys, you have before we let them go?
No, I'm good.
I just want to say thanks again, Ter. It was a hell of a fucking weekend. I'm actually I was actually a little bit depressed that it was over, like just going over all the happy thoughts and memories, man. It was a very special time to hang out with you and the Noofs. Hopefully you don't get offended by that. And
Noofs is fine.
I'm looking forward to the next one. We're still trying to figure out where it's going to be. We have some ideas, but let's make sure the boys are primed and ready for our first ever victory with the Big Deal Selects.
Biz, again, everybody there, thanks for putting off a great weekend. Biz, your on-floor effort, I'm serious, was second to none. You've actually become, three of you guys, pretty good ball hockey players in a short time, right? It's trial by error, and you went and did it against some of the best in the world. Witter, thanks for taking so much time to notice, and to give and to be there.
People say, why don't you play? I couldn't make the friggin' team. That's why I don't play.
Well, you got a great take on it, and I appreciate you even being around. And RA and MG, it's always a blast, man. And that last night was one of the best nights. We got back to the hotel, man, and we were up in the morning, 3-4 hours sleep, man, like if that, man. So we're on the bus, and we all just looked, and when we shared a moment, man. People were like, we waited. Moshe came down. He was late. And then we hugged and we're like, man, we're still riding it. We're still riding this journey of hockey. It's wild.
Still shit-faced.
You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. Most was shit-faced. He left his phone. I called him. He called me today. He said, yeah, I tracked down my phone. It's at one of the bars we were at. I said, oh, shit. So Terry Milby, she's sending it to him. Thank you for the rides, for the pictures.
She was awesome. She's amazing.
She's great.
She was great. Guys, honestly, the guys that I brought are woven into my heart for a long time before Chiclets. So we're experiencing this together. It's a symbiotic relationship. Everybody kind of wins in this situation, and it was a weekend of positivity.
That's what it's all about, boys.
Yep.
That's what all this is about.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, pal. Well, Terry, thanks so much. We'll see you at the next one. Unless I don't see you sooner, I'm going to try to get up to Newfoundland, do a little visit, but we'll check back on that later. Thanks again, buddy, and we'll be in touch.
Boys, I love you all. Thanks for having me on again. Whatever you need, I'm here.
Huge thanks to Terry Ryan for joining us once again. Absolute character. Him and his dad, Senior, as we're now calling him. His interview is also brought to you by our friends at Sling TV. Do you know what week it is? It's Shark Week. Do you know where the best place to watch Shark Week is? Sling. Shark Week is debatably the best program in the summer has to offer, and Sling is taking care of all you want-to-be marine biologists by giving you access to your favorite ocean dwellers. Not into Shark Week? We might judge you, but Sling won't. Sling's got you covered with pro and college football and basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer, golf, racing, and so much more. They also have reality TV, so you can keep up with the latest gossip with today's hottest shows on channels like TLC, Bravo, MTV, and more. Feeling adventurous? Explore thousands of movies and shows on demand. So what kind of mood are you in? No matter what your answer is, Sling has what you need. So go to sling.com/Barstool to sign up now and try it for half the price during your first month. Oh, and one more thing. Happy Shark Week. Got to be careful in the water around Long Island. There's five shark bites in the last several weeks down Long Island.
No way.
Yeah, nothing. What's interesting, none of them were great whites. They only named what type of shark on one of them, and they were kind of like the equivalent of a dog nipping people. Like nobody lost any limbs or like. I mean, I'm sure it sucked for the people getting bit, but usually a shark bite, it's like you lose a limb or a finger or something. But I don't know. A lot of sharks out there.
Yeah, dude, I got 39 stitches. I'm in the hospital for 2 weeks, but I didn't lose a limb, so it's good.
Good story. And I mentioned Terry's dad, Senior, but we were in the Mexican restaurant. I just throw out Senor just because we were in there. He thought it was the funniest goddamn thing in the world. For the rest of the night, he was spouting off his 8th grade Spanish lessons, like, ¿Cómo está usted? Like, over and over again. That guy's an absolute piece of work. So, anyways, moving right along, we had some huge news drop Friday night, which gave us a little something more to talk about this week. Matthew Kachuk, he had previously let the Calgary Flames know that he would not plan on signing there long-term. So Friday night, now huge blockbuster. Calgary actually signed him and then traded him to Florida for forward Jonathan Huberdeau, defenseman Mackenzie Weegar, forward prospect Cole Schwint, and a first-round pick in 2025. That's lottery protected. The Panthers also got a 4th-round pick in 2025. Kachuk's deal is an 8-year, $76 million deal, comes out to $9.5 million average annual value. And this is the first sign and trade in NHL history, Biz, because at first it was listed as signed by Florida, but we checked it today, and no, it's actually Calgary signed him to get that 8th year and then traded him, and that's probably why they paid such a bounty. But first off, Whit, I'll go to you first. Did Florida pay too much for Matthew Kachuk here?
I love Matthew Kachuk, and that signing, the number he's making is totally reasonable for how young he is. He is truly a little bit of a like unicorn might be a little exaggeration. I think that's maybe what Bill Zito called him, a generational talent. Unicorn in the fact that he's so angry and so mean while also producing at such a crazy high level. So that at 9.5 is an unbelievable deal. I still am so confused on what was given up. It's hard to say that too because of how big of a fan of Kachuk I am. I thought the deal for Huberdeau made sense, or Huberdeau on a 1st rounder. You throw in Uyghur and you throw in this prospect who, from all accounts I've heard, could be a very good 3rd-line center in the NHL. And it's like, is Bill Zito smoking the craziest Native American marijuana that Grinelli and RA smoked in Buffalo? This guy's fucking out to lunch, no? Have you seen what this guy's traded away? He traded away. We'll have to get the tweet. Grinelli, pull it up. I don't get the fact that you have to give up that much. And now, yes, there is a chance, and they probably decided we don't want to sign Huberdeau. He's probably going to look to get exactly what Kachuk got. And they're looking at it as, all right, well, we got worked in the 2nd round. We need a guy who's probably a little more playoff type angry. I can't put a sentence together right now. A little bit more grit. So I understand that. Well, the worst part of Florida's teams, their defense, they just lost their 2nd best defenseman. Now, understandably, they probably weren't going to be able to re-sign Uyghur, but it's like you got swept in the 2nd round. You didn't sniff beating Tampa at all, and your team, in my mind, is now worse. No?
Wait, I got that tweet here. It's from Leafs Need God. It's from Leafs Need God. There needs to be a documentary on how Bill Zito transformed the Florida Panthers into a contender, then blew it in 5 months. 3 first-round picks, Huberdeau, Uyghur, 2 prospects, a 3rd rounder, a 4th rounder, 4, 2 months of Claude Giroux, 2 months of Ben Sherratt, and Matthew Kachuk.
Not to mention, when they say 2 prospects, one of them's Owen Tippett, who was a 1st rounder. So that's 4 first-rounders. I do not understand. I swear to God, poor memes, by the way. We had the party Friday night. This news broke. The whole place is all hockey nuts. Everyone's like, what the fuck? You see this trade? Memes is like, oh, fuck. I got to get on social, man. I got to write some stuff and tweets about this
daily. It's daily.
But it's just like you bring in such an impactful player, and it's a great signing. It's just what you gave up for him is truly confusing to me. And even if Calgary isn't able to re-sign Huberdeau or Uyghur, do you know what they're going to get for them at the deadline?
Yeah, that's I'll focus
Calgary,
more.
Great job.
I think Tree Living, one of the most underrated GMs in the National Hockey League, was put in a very difficult situation when he found out 2 of his best players aren't coming back next year. One he lost to free agency, of course, and Johnny Gaudreau, and then I don't know if this was brewing up as far as a thought from Kachuk as soon as they lost Gaudreau, which amplified his
had to have something to do with it big time.
And the fact that, like, guys, if you're an American player and you're playing in Canada to come back and play home, where, I mean, you saw it from, you're hearing Dubois now, right? Dubois, not only did he want to go back to Canada, but he wants to go back to Montreal where he's from. So it was a miraculous trade. I just don't understand where all of a sudden Tree Living had all this leverage. The one extra year,
none. That was the crazy thing.
The one extra year, my fucking family phone's going off. Can you guys answer the phone, please?
It's a guy named Paul calling for our sister.
Mom. But to get all that in return without having any leverage, where the only explanation I would have for it is maybe St. Louis or another team was offering quite a bit more, where Zito felt the pressure where he needed to up the ante. you just mentioned it. On top of getting Huberdeau and Weegar back at the prices that you got them for this year, on top of getting the first rounder, I don't see Calgary being that much worse overall now than they were last year, which is a huge bonus, right? Because you get Huberdeau, Johnny Gaudreau, known as one of the best passers in the league. So is Huberdeau. He's up there, right? As far as defense, when they lost Tanev in playoffs, you saw how much that hurt him. Johnny came in and came on the podcast and talked about it. So now they address by getting another defender who can help out also offensively, special teams. He's a good PP guy. I want to see it over 40 points last year. So how Tree Living was able to carve this out, and I think that Matthew Kachuk mentioned it, where he was like, you know what? I know that there's going to be people who aren't happy, but at least I was kind enough to kind of give them the heads up and also provide some type of leverage where they could get something in return. I don't know if that was a shot at Johnny or just him speaking his own mind about his situation. But ultimately, if you're a Calgary fan, you have to be happy with what he provided your organization and with what position he gave them in order to get a return to continue this relevancy, and a team with what they have could end up making a run. And I could see them going to the conference finals. Do I see them as a cup contender by losing a guy with so much grit and toughness? And with going back the other way for Florida, maybe part of that desperation was they weren't going to be able to afford to pay Marchment, where up front, they don't really have anybody who has that sandpaper finish. They do have Gudas on the back end, I believe, for one more year, who can help out in that regard. But to have a guy like Kachuk, obviously Bill Zito saw that as being tremendously valuable and something that they really, really lacked last year in playoffs, and why they weren't able to come even where near sniffing what Tampa Bay was throwing at them. So,
well, Ekblad, who prior to his injury was a legitimate Norris Trophy candidate and having the best year of his career. Well, he's had a tough time staying healthy his career. And when he was out, who picked up the entire load? It was Mackenzie Weegar. And it's like, I completely understand wanting to add a guy like Kachuk. Every team in the league wants a guy like that. But the Panthers, you cannot tell me they're a better team today. And Huberdeau and Kachuk, ironically, it's the second time in league history 200-point scorers have been traded for one another. The other time was Wayne Gretzky and Jimmy Carson. So it's like, that's why this deal was so shocking. It really was one of those NBA style deals where you're like, what the fuck just happened? But I guess like you're going to have to see how the season plays out. But if I'm a Calgary fan and I look at Matthew Kachuk and what he gave as a member of the Flames, and also the video he made to say goodbye and what you got in return, I have no ill will towards him. That guy played his balls off and was willing to legitimately do anything it took to win constantly. And you got an enormous return, and he didn't want to be there. Some people take that personally. I don't. It's just a crazy trade that to me still makes no sense. And if they lose both of them and the Flames can't sign Huberdeau or Weegar, we'll see what they get in return around the deadline. But I don't even know if they'll be able to trade him at the deadline if they have a really good team. It's like that's going to be the question for Trey Living.
So you're essentially finding yourself in another Columbus type situation, right? Where they're getting a little bit hosed for being a Canadian market team, where you got to be very smart about how you lock guys in. Now, I think that you would imagine in Florida, Huberdeau would have commanded probably the same amount in which they ended up giving Kachuk. There would have been no way with the way they're paying out in salary and the salary cap that they would have been able to keep Weegar. But nonetheless, could have used them at the deadline to acquire more assets in a different regard. So I'm not going to rip on Zito yet, because I want to see that the way this all transpires and the way that it plays out. I don't know what other defensemen they have in the pipeline that can step up and maybe fill in that role that is going to be missed by Weegar.
Yeah, maybe we don't know about a young stud. Fair enough.
But at this point right now, it just seems like a severe overpayment in a situation where Calgary really had no leverage.
The other thing too, of Florida, they were probably unlikely to sign both of these guys, so they probably figured, man, if we're not going to have them both, might as well get rid of one right now.
R.A. Witt, like it just so happens it's the two guys who probably struggled the most mightily, not only like in playoffs, but more so in that Tampa series. Like Weegar made a couple of bonehead plays defensively. Still think he's an incredible player. And Huberdeau in the power play were absolutely rubbish. He did not look like himself. Like that's why I even go back to the first round. Like they didn't have a power play goal till like game 4 of the second round, or maybe a little bit more before that. Do you think that plays as a major factor of him not thinking that these guys can play playoff hockey?
Possibly. I mean, when you look at a team have a season that they did in the regular season, a true legendary regular season where you win the President's Trophy only to be completely dusted in the second round. You look at all aspects, you watch the tape on all 4 games, and you see like what truly let us down. Maybe they decided it was kind of Weegar defensively and Huberdeau offensively. That's hard to say. But just looking at Calgary once again, they have Huberdeau and Weegar this season combined making less money than Matthew Kachuk.
Yeah.
Good point. Also, I mean, Matthew did let them know. I mean, he was upfront and honest with Calgary. Like, look, great time, but look, I'm not going to re-up here. So they took the initiative, and obviously the Hurricanes and Blues with other teams in the mix. And Matty said, quote, playing at home, I'm sure every hometown kid will say it's special for you, but it's more special for the people that got you here, which I thought was a pretty interesting quote. Like, so similar with Johnny. It's like, what Johnny ended up in Columbus. Like, yeah, it's great. Everybody wants you at home, but it's the whole, hassle of everybody bugging you every game for tickets and this, that, the other thing. So I thought that was pretty interesting. What's his name? The Athletic reported that St. Louis had offered, a proposal included Tarasenko, Scandella, and a high draft pick. The team officially declined comment. Buddy Strick said that Tarasenko was never approached about waiving his clause, but of course, you probably talk about this stuff before you actually ask guys to waive. So either way, a huge blockbuster. Any final thoughts before we move along to some other stories here?
No, I'm excited to see this new look of this Calgary team more than anything.
And
I think we know that. I think we know
could be a 90-100 point guy in Florida with Barkov too. It's not like that season to fluke at all, which just happened.
No,
absolutely not. Another trade too. Columbus traded forward Oliver Bjorkstrand to Seattle for a third and fourth round picks in 2023. Excuse me. He has 4 more years left at $5.4 million. He had 57 points in 80 games last year. He was Columbus's third-round pick way back in 2013. Had spent his entire career there. And, of course, they had to move money so they could pay their sniper, which leads to Patrick Laine. Him and the Blue Jackets agreed to a 4-year, $34.8 million deal. Comes out to $8.7 million a year. He's got no trade protection for the first year, then a modified no-trade clause for the last 3. He had 56 points in 56 games last year. Is 8.7 too high for him, Biz, or about what you expected him to come in?
I've always been somewhat critical of his game. It's not very well-rounded. I think he's starting to get there. I think he's started to find comfort in Columbus and really likes it there. I think that now that he's getting that type of dough, I think he's got to be automatic 40 goals, and that makes him worth what he's getting. And he's going to have some players to play with. That is just you look at between what Johnny's making, what Werenski's making, what Laine's making, that is a very top-heavy team financially for a team who we probably know, at least for next year, is not going to make playoffs. They're going to have to start adding some cheap pieces, which they do have in the pipeline, mind you. So if those guys develop to the place where they believe they can get, sure. Getting rid of it's Bjorkstrand. Am I saying it correctly? Bjorkstrand?
Bjorkstrand, yep.
Bjorkstrand. I saw his development. I played against him in the Calder Cup when they ended up going on to win it in Lake Erie. Developed into a very, very good player who's got some good years left at a very good term. I think that's going to hurt them drastically. And that's where it's like, okay, well, if you're going to pay Laine and you're going to have to get rid of some really good pieces, you better make sure that this guy is going to start turning into the player that we'd all expect him to be. What a fucking move by Seattle to get him over there. That is a great piece they're going to have for a good amount of time. I love his game. I think that there were some times when Torts was involved in the organization where he was a health bomb and maybe Torts didn't like his game, but fuck off. He's a great two-way player. I think that Seattle's going to love him, and it's just an unreal trade for Ron Francis, knowing that team had to shed salary. And what did they have? They didn't have to give up much to get him.
No, just third and fourth round picks in 23.
That's a nothing burger.
Price. Yeah,
that's a nothing burger.
Contract dump.
Not to mention that Bjorkstrand, I think he just bought a house and was on his honeymoon. It's like that's pro sports, man. That's tough.
Yeah, $500,000 in Columbus. I mean, he's make that. In
well,
3
also,
weeks.
I just want to say, Gaudreau is such a special player, and Laine is able to score at will when he's really giving it his all and feels like he's all in on maybe a little effort away from the pocket. Like his defense could create offense, but Gaudreau was able to play and produce with Kachuk and Lindholm. Okay, he's either going to have Roslovich or Boone Jenner as his center. Neither one of those guys are Elias Lindholm. So that's going to be a little bit of a test in terms of who's distributing Laine and control the puck. And that's even if they play on the same line, which I imagine they would.
And the guy Laine was traded for, Winnipeg's Pierre-Luc Dubois, he accepted his qualifying offer for 1 year, $6 million. He will be a restricted free agent after that deal expires. He had 60 points in 81 games last year. Now, his camp had made it known, his agent, Pat Brisson, he did want to play for the Habs. He did a press conference the other day, I should say a Zoom call. He sort of downplayed. He says, I think everybody focused on that because I was at the draft. And he said, I live 15 minutes away. I'm a hockey fan. I went to the draft. I wanted to check it out. So, he kind of downplayed that whole, I want to play in Montreal thing. Now, if you were a GM, would you consider dealing for a guy who's made it known that he pretty much has his heart set on another team?
This is a tough one, and I got a couple thoughts on this. First one being, he's got to be one of the top players in the league who truly believes in himself, because it's getting a little like, all right, you didn't like Columbus, you wanted to be in Winnipeg, you get to Winnipeg. Now, granted, the coach quits in the middle of the year, the team's kind of in disarray right now, but you don't want to be there now. The thing is, though, he's so confident in his own abilities that I think he doesn't really give a fuck what people think about him or what people say about him in terms of not really being happy wherever he is, because he's willing to do this again. And this isn't easy to be a part of in terms of being on a team and making it very open that he didn't want to be there. You heard the comments about Torts when he was doing it in Columbus and how kind of frustrating it was for him as a coach and bringing up the whole aspect of we want guys who want to be here. Well, now it's the same case in Winnipeg. And yeah, if other teams do want him, which they do, because listen, this guy, he had 60 points on a team that really struggled.
He's an incredible two-way center.
He's an incredible two-way
elite
center.
Second line center in the National
He
Hockey
can fight. He's very similar to Kachuk in a sense of a power forward that can produce points. That's a prick when he's out there. But I mean, what's to say he doesn't get to the next spot? He's like, I don't want to fucking be here either. When this continues to go on, and granted, it's the second time, it's just kind of there has to be some apprehension in terms of GMs looking to trade for a guy who might possibly decide when he gets there, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't know if you agree with that, Biz.
I think the first one, it really seemed like he just didn't really like playing for Torts. That might not be what he said publicly. That was just the vibe that I got. I think that it worked out that he was going to go to a Winnipeg team that looked like they were primed to make playoffs and a good enough top nine where I thought they could go on a run. Did they lack some guys on the back end, but they had I'm drawing a blank on the netminder they have there who won the Vezina. Hellebuck. Thank you. A little brain fart. So he ends up going to Winnipeg. I think his father was coaching in the minor league. So I don't think that was necessarily the most desired landing spot for him, but it was an opportunity for him to get out of Columbus and go to a pretty decent squad. Now with the way that things seem to be unraveling a little bit, you hear about maybe the lack of chemistry in the locker room there. And he's saying, listen, with the cap going up, I'll sign a 1-year deal. I'm going to make $6 million. And at the end of basically next year, at the end of the year, or even at the deadline, he can get the fuck out of there. I don't think Winnipeg's the most desirable place to go. And if it's a type of place where you need players who want to play there. And that's hard to find. They have to essentially be homegrown. Do I agree with you in the sense that he's got to have the biggest gonads carrying around a wheelbarrow to have the jam to request a trade at a young age out of one place and then be there for a short period of time? And then comments surface that he wants to go play in his hometown. Yes. But at the end of the day, this is where the league's headed. You just saw it with Matthew Kachuk not wanting to be there when he's, restricted with 1 year left. He had to be in Calgary. And now you're seeing it over and over with guys just being like, hey, I'm going to be a little bit more vocal that I don't want to be here. And it seems like guys are finding themselves out of the situations they don't want to be in. And I'm old school. I was just happy to be there. I also wasn't half the player that this kid is. So if you do have that type of jam and you maybe do see your hometown team and where you want to play on the rise, making good moves, and one team going maybe the other way, I really can't blame him in this situation. And now it's going to be up to Winnipeg to see what they can leverage in order to get a good return, much like Brad Treliving did. So maybe they can call him and ask what he thinks.
Sounds like Vegas and PLD are on a collision course. Like the whole Goldilocks thing. I don't want to be here. They don't want anybody.
Yeah,
that'd be fucking hilarious if they traded for him. But all right, moving right along here. New Jersey defenseman Jonas Siegenthaler signed a 5-year, $17 million extension. Comes out to $3.4 million a year. The 25-year-old Swiss defender has become quite the shutdown D-man. He had 14 points in 70 games last year, but offense not his game. What do you know about this kid? What can you tell us?
Absolutely nothing. Heard a lot of people that really like this signing in terms of the analytical numbers. I don't really watch Jersey that much, and I don't know much about him. I'm going to be dead honest with you guys.
Pasha.
Pasha should fucking fill everyone in on his game.
Very, very, very good shutdown defenseman in a not so much used role. I think towards the second half of the season last year, he started getting that top 4 defenseman role. So what's really hard to grade is New Jersey had some of the worst goaltending last year. If not, I think they ranked like 28th in the league. So if they like what they're seeing, it just, for a guy I've never even heard of and a guy who really hasn't played that much, to give that much term, all right, let's see it. But I've also been hearing a lot about this New Jersey team. I think I shit on them last episode about no team making my dick softer than the New Jersey Devils. I'm going to rescind my comment just a tad and say there has been so much speculation around this team from their own fan base. Let me see what you got, guys. I'm going to give it one more year. And I might even say, you know what? I'm willing to put them in the playoff picture just to say at the end of the year when they don't make it, stop selling me on this fucking bullshit.
Well, speaking of their goaltending, they did come to terms with their new goalie, Vitek Vanacek, signed him to a 3-year, $10.2 million deal. Also comes out to $3.4 million a year. He'll be unrestricted after that. Was that maybe a slightly higher number than you expected for a guy with 79 games played?
That's the fucking way the league's going now, man. There's no sample size. Just give them fucking contracts. And
like the 90s.
Listen, Jack Hughes is Jack Hughes, and he's going to light the league up. And, whatever they paid him, fine. I'm not going to bitch about it. But at the time in which they signed him to his deal, he was nowhere near 100 games played. So they've created this, this standard inside that organization to where it's like, yo, play good for half a season. I'm going to give you the bag. You're going to be shopping at Louis for your underwear now, right? Underwear and socks. You're not going back to anything Hanes. You're going straight Gucci.
The way Hughes played this year, though, it's like $8 million a year might end up being a bargain of a deal.
100%. But it's just like, look at all these deals they're throwing out with having.
No, I know.
And Vanacek, like, he's still very young. Was in Washington last year. They were having goaltending issues. They were trying to get a guy at the deadline. They tried to get Flower, one of their arch nemesis. That's how desperate they were. So they end up getting Darcy Kemper and I guess no need for Vanacek, blah, blah, blah. But let's see what this kid's got. They have a lot of young studs apparently in this pipeline of the New Jersey Devils. They had, as I mentioned, some of the worst goaltending last year. Let's see if this all turns around. Let's see if they get that healthy lineup back. Hamilton's going to be fucking back and primed and ready to go, making nine and a half sheets a year. They've thrown out a lot of dough over the course of the last 13 months. I want to see a fucking playoff team. And if we don't, I don't want to hear one more fucking New Jersey fan online harping about, oh yeah, the future's bright. The future's bright. Shut the fuck up, Pasha.
Bitch.
Stop hitting me up with your fake bot accounts.
Speaking of the Capitals quickly, Nicholas Backstrom, I believe. Did you see his wedding?
Oh.
Did you see the clips of his wedding?
No.
Yeah,
Oh,
my
my-
All the boys getting after it in the pool.
I think it was his wedding, right? All right.
Yeah, his went over.
Oh
in Sweden.
my God, that looked like the biggest time I've ever seen. I think Swedish weddings are banana land. Klingberg's look like a blast on Instagram too. So
yeah, it's pretty wild. They're all.
I think every Swedish hockey player got married this offseason.
Seriously,
yeah, exactly.
Nino Niederreiter signed with the Preds. He signed a 2-year, $8 million deal. The 29-year-old forward had 44 points in 75 games last year. This is about where you had him pegged with $4 million, maybe 2-year deal. Yeah,
at times he looks great.
Yeah, pretty versatile guy out there. Helps the team out.
I think the moves that Poyle he continues to make the team relevant.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're thinking, they got Duchesne and Johansson signing these bad. Well, they have bounce back years. They got incredible goaltending now. They got Roman Josi. Now they add McDonough. So they got some help on the back end. Now they got, a guy who's a great two-way player. Is he the most offensive? No, but he's another good piece. I'm very impressed with what Poyle is able to do year over year and continue to make that Nashville team relevant. So I see them making playoffs again and a great addition and a guy also coming back over from a winning culture. Where was he? He went from Minnesota to Carolina now to Nashville, correct?
Yeah, it started with the Islanders, I believe. Islanders to Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I never even knew he was with the Islanders.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Another one for you, Biz. Sammy Kapanen re-upped with Pittsburgh, 2-year, $6.4 million deal. Right about where you had a peg, Biz, probably.
This guy needs to take another step. I'm not crazy about his game. He disappears for a handful of games at a time. He's got the group around him to have a good enough support cast to where he doesn't need to drive his own line. He just needs to figure out how to contribute on a game-to-game basis in other areas. And I don't know if I would have signed him, but let's see what he can bring to the table next year.
Okay, a couple more notes before we get to Kyle Okposo here. Edmonton's Jesse Puljujarvi signed a 1-year, $3 million deal. There's lots of trade speculation with him, so keep you
step it up. Let's see.
Some big news on the coaching front as well. The San Jose Sharks made David Quinn their next head coach. Of course, he last coached the Rangers back from 2018 to 2021. Former BU player hiring a former BU player and coach. Whit, you surprised at all at this? So we kind of expected, given all the stuff.
I love it. And you heard David Quinn's name involved possibly with the Bruins. They went with another former college hockey player, Jim Montgomery. I listen, I'm biased. I'm good friends with Mike Greer. I consider myself good friends with David Quinn. I think he's going to do a phenomenal job. He took a brunt of hate from these moron Rangers fans. It was like he didn't build the team that was then out-muscled and had to deal with the Tom Wilson-Panarin thing. It was like he took so much hate for a Rangers team that was kind of overachieving in a sense for how many young guys they had and how many young guys he was forced to play. Quinny's been an amazing coach at every single level he's been at, and I think he's really, he has his work cut out for him in San Jose, as Greersy does. But that's a great guy to have a younger group with some contracts they need to figure out. Well, Brent Burns is gone, but some other ones that are tough to deal with. But that's a great coach that'll be able to at least help that direction get in the right spot. And also, there's rumors that another close personal friend, Ryan Wasowski, who won the Calder Cup this year with Chicago, he's interviewing for the possible assistant coach job there. So I'd love to see that, a Massachusetts kid who hopefully gets his chance to be in the NHL and as an assistant coach. And that's a team San Jose, because of those three guys. If Wasowski ends up there, I 100% will be rooting for him.
I couldn't agree more with those idiot Rangers fans. If they don't like them, I love them. Quinny the Man Rocket, I wish him all the success in San Jose. In fact, I bet you that they finish higher than the New York Rangers next year, those fucking bums.
Yeah, Buddy Weeksy with that scoop on Ryan Wasowski. Let's see. The LA Kings will retire former captain Dustin Brown's number 23 on February 11th of next season. The team is also going to unveil a statue of him as well.
Shocked. Cool stuff. Not shocked about the jersey retirement.
The statue is intense.
The statue, it's like, Dustin Brown, I think he was an 03 draft pick. And Biz, correct? He was your draft, right? 03?
Yeah. So he's an 04, but was drafted in 03. He's an
84, but he's
an 84. He's an 84.
So what a career he had. And he went there when the Kings were down in the dumps, and he's the captain of 2 Stanley Cup winning teams. Jersey retirement, no questions asked. But we've long talked about statues and who gets statues. And for me, if I look at the LA Kings and their 2 Stanley Cup runs, I go Drew Doughty, Andrei Kopitar, Jonathan Quick, Dustin Brown. So maybe they have a plan of a
Justin
kind
Williams
of
even ahead of him.
Yeah, game 7. Maybe they have a plan of kind of those 4 guys, like smaller statue for each guy all together, in terms of those 4 being the true core of those 2 Stanley Cup winning teams. But I've said before, statues are Lemieux, Gretzky, Jordan. It's like Brady someday in New England, and I was surprised about the statue. Now I'll have to see the statue. If it's a giant Jordan one, then I'm really kind of blown away. If it's a smaller one that has some other guys that I mentioned involved in it someday, I'd understand a little bit more.
Yeah, the mini statue. I like the mini statue.
Nonetheless, what a career.
Yeah, no
We
doubt.
got, like for instance, like Bergeron, Marchand. Who else? Maybe Tim Thomas. Give him a couple mini statues outside of the Garden.
Yeah, well, I don't
Not the full
Z. I don't know if
ones.
you could do a mini statue of Z, but he's another name.
Maybe put Marchand on top of Bobby Orr's shoulder on the statue.
No, Marchand's giving him a wet willy.
Hey, like you
shit.
said, well deserved on the Jersey retirement, guys. He led them to 2 Stanley Cups, and he was money in playoffs. He played that playoff style game. So I mean, fuck, that's a team that had never won anything and didn't have much tradition other than having Gretzky around, going to the finals the one year against the Montreal Canadiens. So, you know, when you've raised the cup a couple times, I mean, you gotta pay homage to the captain and the guy who led you there.
Also, the Kings had hired Manon Rhéaume as a hockey operations prospect advisor. So congrats to the former Chiclets guest, Manon Rhéaume. Big historic figure in women's hockey, no doubt. But boys, I think it's about time we send it over to Kyle Okposo. This is great that we were just in Buffalo. The Buffalo fans, I know we haven't had a ton of interviews for them lately. This is a special interview. This is a special guy, a terrific human being. I know Whit spent a lot of time with him out in the golf course. So we're going to send it over to him. First, we want to let you know that his interview is brought to you by Roman. Testosterone affects a lot of aspects of men's fitness and health, from sex drive to muscle and bone mass. The experts believe testosterone plays a huge role in our body's natural function. But men's testosterone starts to deplete with age, which is why it's important you support it early. Roman T Support is meant to help men maintain their body's natural testosterone production with the proprietary supplement formulated by Roman's in-house doctors. Roman T Support contains a blend of 6 nutrients, including ashwagandha to support healthy testosterone levels, magnesium to support muscular health, vitamin D3, a fat-soluble vitamin that plays a role in bone health and supports several cellular processes, zinc, an important trace mineral in the body that plays a role in muscle development. Roman T Support is not testosterone replacement therapy, and it is not meant to treat people with testosterone deficiency syndrome. So go to getroman.com/chiclets to get $15 off your first order of Roman T Support. That's getroman.com/chiclets. One more time, getroman.com/chiclets. And now enjoy Kyle Okposo. Okay, it's time to bring on our guest. He was taken 7th overall by the New York Islanders at the 2006 draft and spent his first 9 NHL seasons on Long Island. He then signed a free agent deal with the Sabres and has been here in Buffalo for the last 6 seasons. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome to the Spittin Chiclets podcast, Kyle Okposo. How's it going, Kyle?
Really good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for giving that pronunciation correct. You're too nice of a guy to correct people, huh?
Yeah, well, they've been getting it wrong my whole life, and I don't know, I was probably 15 when I stopped telling people that the K was silent because it would take too long.
All right.
No, people are like, we're doing it now because we know it annoys you.
No.
I just found out you were allergic to beer.
I am allergic to beer. It's basically the only thing that I'm allergic to. I'll have an asthma attack. So red wine and tequila for me.
All right. Well, we just launched our new beer. I was going to hand you one though, but we don't want to kill you, so I guess I'll just crush yours.
That's all right. As long as you guys got a nebulizer, I'll be okay.
What have you been doing for the summer? I know you're a big golf guy. What else you been up to?
We just spent 3 weeks down in Florida. We went to Disney World, took the kids there, or Disneyland. I don't know which one's which, but the one down in Florida. So that was fun. A bit of a gong show with the kids.
Did you get the VIP
whip
thing?
pass?
Yes, we did.
Imagine not having that thing.
No, absolutely not. Like this gal took care of us, and I didn't have any idea. We didn't even have park tickets when we contacted them. We didn't know we had to have park tickets because we just figured you'd walk up and get your tickets.
You pay all this for the VIP, and they're like, no, you still got to buy the daily park pass. That place is an absolute disgrace.
It's a factory.
It's fun for the kids, though.
It's a factory down there. Like, they run things like XYZ. It's just on point. But yeah, it was fun for the kids. And then we spent a couple weeks in Naples at my in-laws' place, and then back here for the summer.
Yeah, nice neck of the woods down there. We always start the show, go back to your early days. Now, did you play forward from the jump when you started playing hockey?
I actually played defense growing up. Started when I was 7, a little bit late. And I played in an organization called Highland Central in St. Paul. And the team wasn't great, and it was kind of the only way that I got to touch the puck was to play D. And so, and then I started playing in the summers, ended up going to the brick tournament with the Minnesota Blades, and that's kind of how I got hooked up with the Minnesota 88s. We had a couple good guys on that team.
Yeah, Eric Johnson, who else is
Peter
a part
Mueller,
of that group? Peter Mueller.
Jamie McBain, Mike Carmen. We had some really good guys on that team.
So Mueller was the 5th pick, your draft?
He's the 8th.
Oh, 8th. You went ahead of him. Suck on that
one. So then I played forward in the summer, D in the winter. And then, the rest is kind of history.
What age did you start separating yourself from the pack? Excuse me, Merles.
I don't know. I would say probably around 15. Like I worked hard when I was a kid. I wasn't ever more talented than anybody. And my first love wasn't hockey. Like, I loved basketball. I'd be out in the driveway pretending I was Michael Jordan for hours playing basketball. And
Did you play that in the winter as well, or was that more?
Yeah, I actually quit hockey when I was 13. I didn't play in the winter. I was in 8th grade, switched schools, and the school that I was at wouldn't let me try out for the high school team. They wouldn't let me try out for varsity, so I just said, screw it, I'm playing football and basketball, and so I didn't play hockey that year.
Were you far and above better at hockey than the other sports, or were you even better at the other ones?
No, so when I was 14, or that summer, I was actually 13, I was all set to go to a local school in St. Paul, local high school, and football would have been my number one sport. And like I was a good football player, and then literally middle of August, I'm sitting there, and JP Parisi had seen me play in the summer, and he wanted me to go to Shattuck. And so he was recruiting me down there, and I literally decided in the middle of August, I was like, I kind of want to play hockey, and that's how I decided to go Shattuck. And
I wanted to ask you about Shattuck's. Everybody thinks Crosby put it on the map, but you had a 176-point season there.
No way.
What was that all about? Who were you playing with?
You even played hockey the year before.
I did not play hockey the year before that. So that was my Bantam year. That was my first year there, and Sid was there. And so Sid was 15, I was 14, and so he was playing prep and I was playing Bantam, and I arranged my classes that year. So the prep team practiced 8th and 9th period, and I arranged my classes so I had 8th period off. So every single day I'd walk to the rink and go watch Sid practice because it was unbelievable. And like, so we were friends, and but I would just watch him practice every day just to like be a sponge and learn from him. And one story about Sid, I don't know if he remembers this, but we had biology together Monday mornings, and one weekend I think I had 20 points in a weekend, and they went in a different tournament and he had 16, and he was pissed. Like,
Come on.
He was mad. Yeah, he was like, how many points did you have? I was like, I had 20 points, whatever. And so the next weekend, I think he had 25. Like,
just
legit.
turned it on.
He's like, how many points do you have? I don't know, 8, 25.
Suck on that. I think, was it him telling us the story, or was it McKinnon when they were training together, when like Sid beat him the first 9 sprints, and then Mac got a step ahead of him, and then Sid just grabbed his leg, pulled him down, so Sid could finally like win the 10th of the 10 that he won. So he's tapped a little bit different.
Yeah, he's just a competitor, and he just loves it, like loves the game, loves to compete. I do that Vail camp most years, and training with Andy O'Brien. I know you guys know him, and Sid he's just wired differently. He's just ultra competitive. I mean, you guys know he played.
Was that did his next year he go to Rimouski?
Yeah.
So that was just all right. So you saw this one year where he was already like an enormous story in the hockey world, and you just got to witness it.
He was a stud. Like, They would play against. We went to France, so we went to Paris that year, and I remember they were playing against a men's team over there, and Sid was 15, and just like dominating this men's team in France, and it was so much fun to watch. And yeah, he left that next year, and then that was Johnny Taves came in the next year, and we played together for a couple of years.
Had he already been hooked up with Andy O'Brien at that age?
That was when he got hooked up with him. He got hooked up with him, I believe, through this guy named Pat O'Brien, who's a chiro there, and somehow they got connected when he was at Shattuck, and that's when he met Andy.
And we kind of were going into it over dinner last night, just how he's able to constantly evolve. And I don't know if there was like an agreement that was worked out between Sid and Andy, and the fact that like they were going to work together their entire career, and they kind of just, he has to focus on Sid a certain amount of his time.
Yeah, I don't know what the exact relationship is, but yes, Sid has priority there, and as he should. And
he's got him on speed dial.
Andy's
Yes,
like, I'm going to a
absolutely.
wedding. No, you're not. We're doing sprints tomorrow, Andy.
They're doing their dynamic warm up on the dance floor when the bride or groom are doing their song.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Minnesota's obviously a hockey mad state, but you guys play 75 games in a high school schedule? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's different. It's not real high school, so
okay.
we don't play against like the
Like a
regular.
Nina.
No, we don't go to the state tournament because we recruit, and we played a couple exhibition games against Holy Angels and Benilde St. Margaret's, and one of the years we absolutely waxed them, but the other year it was actually crazy. So everybody in Minnesota, like nobody likes Shattuck, right?
Yeah,
Like,
because it's a public
Cake
school
eaters.
state
Yes,
where
exactly.
everyone plays for your town.
yeah, everybody's like, fuck these guys. Like I don't want them to do well. So we played Holy Angels, and it was at their home rink, and we ended up winning in overtime. Like the place is packed, and we won in overtime 4-3. And like we were a better team than them, but it meant more to them. And our coach comes in after, and he gave it to us bad. He's just like, you got these games, they mean so much to them, and you guys need to rise to that level. And he basically said, like, we have nothing to gain from playing these games, but you guys have to learn how to win these games. You got to learn how to win. And so Tom
we
Moore,
just
he's
did,
still
Coach.
there. Yeah, yeah, he's awesome. He taught me a lot about how to be a man, for sure.
And then I noticed that for the most part, usually you stay in school in Minnesota, but you went to the USHL to Des Moines. But you told me it was kind of a funny story how you ended up there.
Yeah, they actually so I told them that I wasn't going to go, and because I wanted to go to Omaha, and they had the number 2 pick in the draft. And so I told them before the draft I wasn't coming, and Reg Simon, who was the GM coach there, they took me at 1. And I was kind of
Ballsy move by him.
Yeah, I was bummed out about that, and then I went for a visit that summer, and I loved it, and so ended up going there. It was a tough decision to leave Shattuck, but our team was kind of getting dismantled at that point, and I figured it was time for the next step before I went to University of Minnesota.
So because you and Taves were going to be seniors at Shattuck, but he accelerated.
Yeah, Johnny accelerated.
Is he that smart to be able to do
He's
that?
he's smart in a lot of different areas.
On the ice.
Yeah, he's probably the best leader that I've ever played with, best hockey leader that I've ever played with. And one story about that, we were in Culver, and our coach, we had no nonsense, whatever, like, and nobody's ever worn a letter at Shattuck. It's just not something that they do. And Huberdeau came in, and we were playing our rivals, Culver, before the game, and he looked around the room, and he goes, some of you guys need to start playing like this guy. And he pointed at Johnny. And it was like the ultimate admission that this guy just had something different.
No
like
shit.
he's just
You
got
could
something
tell.
different as a leader. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Did you play on a line with him at all?
We never played together. No, we just power play. But yeah, that was it. He played with Michael Gergen and Ryan Duncan that first year for sure. So.
At Des Moines, playoff MVP, top rookie, won the Clark Cup. So going into the draft, what were your expectations going in?
I actually thought I thought either Pittsburgh was going to trade down and take me because I had some good conversations with them, or I was going to go 6 to Columbus or 8 to Phoenix. And I wasn't expecting to go to the Islanders, and they actually did a psych test before. They were the only team to do it. So I was working out at the University of Minnesota at the time, and like a bunch of us had to do it, and apparently I did well on that. I don't
like a written exam?
Yeah, it was like a written.
I had to do one for the
session.
Rangers. They sent me a packet about this thick, and it was
Jesus.
all these ridiculous questions. No wonder they didn't.
We gotta
fucking
find
grab
that
me.
somewhere.
Was that
Imagine the responses, biscuit.
was that what they did, or did they do it like a live test?
No, it was like a written exam, and so all of us were in the weight room, like in this back room, taking that written test. It was apparently I did well on it, and they liked me. So I went 7 to the Islanders.
But before, at the draft, and their picks coming up, did you still at that time think, no way I'm going here, and then all of a sudden your name's called, or had you heard?
Yeah, no, I had no idea. And then it was like from Des Moines in the USHL, and I'm like, wow. It was just a pretty surreal moment. I wish I had done something a little differently with my hair. We did the whole.
I gotta look up that picture.
We did the whole
Frosted tips?
No, we did the whole junior hockey thing, right? So it's like dye your hair blonde for playoffs. Like everybody kind of does it. And I had a huge fro, and so I had a blonde fro for playoffs in Des Moines, and then instead of chopping it off like I usually do, like it's short, I decided to try and dye it back. And so it turned out like this orangish fro that I had at the draft. It was bad.
Kind of it could be a stupid question by me. I just can't think. Is there a higher draft pick from the USHL?
Vanek, I believe.
He was picked out of the USHL. Oh my
I
God!
think
This
so.
picture of your hair, dude.
It's bad. Yeah, it's bad.
It matches the orange in the Islanders
Oh,
logo.
that's not too bad.
No, it's way better
You
than
look like
business.
you look like it's Pat.
It's Pat.
Did they make any hockey cards from this picture?
I don't know. They posted my combine picture, and I got a lot of those texted to me. Like, wow, tough look, bud.
What's your background?
Like nationality, you mean?
Yeah, nationality.
Yeah. So my dad grew up in Nigeria, and my mom's from a small town in Minnesota, Perham. And so my dad came to this country when he was 16, and he went to boarding school in Nigeria from when he was 5 to when he was 16. He accelerated and graduated 2 years early, and then he wanted to get an American education. He wanted to go to a U.S. college. So my grandfather wanted him to stay in Nigeria, and so he sent him to Duluth, Minnesota in the middle of January after only being in Nigeria. Yeah, my dad never went back.
No way.
Wow.
He obviously went back to visit, but he stayed in this country. So he's a scientist for a pharmaceutical company now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, those are the people who usually can skip grades. Johnny Taves skipping a grade is for hockey.
Yeah.
Well, even when he said Crosby met you at biology or chemistry or something, no way Sid was going to classes.
Sid actually accelerated too, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
So you went to the University of Minnesota, was there an issue with like when Islanders didn't like the coaching staff there, and why you had to end up moving or something like that, or is that?
When I went to the Islanders,
Am I going?
Yeah, when you signed mid-season, maybe after 18 games in college, you signed mid-season.
so-
Was it the coach? Was it the money? Was it something?
So-
The internet said it was the coaching.
Snowy said it was the
I'll
coach.
just leave it over to you.
So I wanted to leave after my freshman year at the University of Minnesota, and had a good year, and I wanted to turn pro. I didn't care if I went to the minors and played. Like I wanted to kind of go on to the next step. And the Islanders did everything by committee at that point. So it was Charles Wong had a vote, and Gar Snow and Ted Nolan, and I'm not sure who else, maybe some of the scouts, but
Ricky DiPietro.
He was in the brass meetings.
He had to say he was the final decision.
crazy story how he became GM, but that's a different one. But so so everybody had a vote, and Ted Nolan at the time was the coach. He wanted me to go to Seattle and play Major Junior, and I was just like, that's a lateral move. Like,
That makes no sense.
I'm not going to do that. So I went back to school, and then I was playing center at the University of Minnesota. They drafted me as a winger, and they called at Christmas, and I was having a bad year. Like, I had a bad attitude, and I went back not in a good frame of mind, and I had a really tough year, tough start to that season. So they called me at Christmas right before I went to World Juniors, and they were like, we want to sign you. We want you to come out of school. And I'm like, now? Like, it was one of the toughest decisions that I had in my life up to that point, for sure. I felt bad leaving the team. I really did. But at the end of the day, I decided that it was the right thing for me to do, and that's how I signed, and then played the rest of the season.
Did it have to do with the fact that the coach was being stubborn, where he wanted you as a centerman, where you were a natural winger?
No, it was kind of. I mean, I was just playing center basically out of necessity. We just didn't have a ton of centers at the University of Minnesota, and I liked playing center too. Like, you get a lot of touches, you're around the puck a little bit more, and I could do it in college, but going to the NHL is obviously a different thing, and they wanted me to kind of play at my natural position.
Sure.
I was looking at highlights. You scored one of those between the legs goals like 16 years ago. Had you seen someone do that and then decide to try it, or were you the first guy to do it? What's up with that?
I don't know when I saw somebody doing that, but I actually did that in high school, and I think we were beating a team like 6-1, and this goes back to Tom Ward as a coach there. And I did it, and I scored, and I got back to the bench, and Wardo taps me on the back, and he goes, "Hey, nice goal, bud. Don't ever fucking do that again."
Yeah.
And
like Major League.
And I was like,
That's how different it was then, though. Now, like, nobody says a word to you, even if you don't score on it. Back then, even if you scored, it wasn't even
Torts
allowed.
still does.
Oh yeah, Torts.
Don't be skilling it up too much.
Kevin Hayes is gonna score some filthy lacrosse goal this year, and Torts is gonna bench him.
Yeah, no, it was, so I don't know where I saw that, just something you practice, I guess, but yeah, I did it in college, and yeah, I don't know, I was a little bit cocky at that point. I think I said something going by their bench, and that was not the right thing to do.
So when you ended up coming out of college and you did sign, did you go right to the Islanders, or did you play in the minors for a little bit?
I played 30 games in the minors. I went right to Bridgeport, and Jack Capuano was my first coach there.
Who's awesome.
Great guy. He's awesome. And
looks like a mobster. He looks like he belongs in
he
the
does.
Sopranos.
Straight out of the Goodfellas.
Yeah, so I went to Bridgeport for 30 games, and then I played the last 9 games of the year, so it didn't burn a year. And then never went back, except after my first year. I played 2 playoff games in Bridgeport before I went to World Championships, because Snowy told me I had to do that so I didn't have to go to dev camp the next summer.
Oh, that was the rule. You're like, I'll do anything to get out of that.
Yes.
So that in that NHL games that year, is that when you scored your first goal, or was it the next season?
No, I scored my first goal my second game.
So Pasha, our boy Pasha, was at the game. It was against Brodeur in New Jersey, right?
That's right. That's
crazy.
right. Yeah, it was Mike Motto gave me a little cross check in front of the net. We were on the power play, 1-1 game. It was like 5 minutes left or something, and Mike Motto gave me a little cross check, and my helmet popped off. Like, I don't know how my helmet came off. Like, it should not have come off from that cross check, and I kind of meandered out to the slot, and Richard Park kind of fed it to me in the middle, and I one-timed it home past Marty Brodeur.
No helmet on.
No
I
Bucky.
think he's the last guy to ever do it, because now you can't do it anymore.
Oh, fuck, dude. That rule drives me absolutely.
First goal
Still have that hair going?
I had this going. I had just chopped it off for charity, but yeah. So Parky thought that I had scored and ripped my helmet off and like sellied like that. So he was like, "What are you doing, kid?" But yeah, pretty cool moment.
So on that Islanders team, a pair of veterans on that squad, Dougie Waite and Billy Guerin, you must have just been like, what the Christ, when he first got to the league.
Yeah, it was there was no shortage of laughter in the room, that's for sure. I mean, these guys were just old school, and I know you guys have interviewed Billy, but the way that they go back and forth with each other is unbelievable. It's just just nonstop laughter. And it's just funny. Like, I just remember old school lunches. Like, that was kind of my aha moment when I was like, oh man, this is just different. Where we'd land somewhere and Billy'd be like, everybody to this bar, mandatory 1 beer. Whatever, you can stay for 1, you can stay for 20, and
I'll be here for 20.
Yeah, it was just cool seeing those guys.
Another player that you bonded with, John Tavares. You guys played in a line together. You guys still good friends. That must have been a good time with him.
Yeah, it was good. He taught me a lot about what it takes to work, and there is nobody that's more dialed in than this guy.
Yeah, he's a hockey nerd, but like not in an insulting way. He's all in.
We're going golfing, and he's got prepared food at hole 6, at hole 12, and after the round. Like, he's
got the IV on the cart. Just getting his vitamin.
Yours is with booze, his is with water.
No, yeah, he's dialed in, and so when after my 4th year or whatever, I had a tough year, the lockout season. I scored 4 goals in 48 games, and I was kind of at a crossroad in my career, and like, I stayed with him for I think a couple weeks in the summer, and I like saw his diet, I saw how he did things, and it changed my career, because I just said,
no shit,
I'm not going to be average anymore. I hated where I was at, and I wanted to just be be an excellent player and not be average. And
so that season was the training not where it needs to be? Was the diet bad? Was it like little things off the ice that led to the poor play, or was it also like a snake bitten type year?
No, it was off the ice. Like I wasn't in a good frame of mind mentally, and so that was when my body changed too. Like I gained 10 pounds in a week in like August that year, and I didn't do anything differently in my diet. It was just like my body changed, my metabolism changed, and I was like, oh man, like I got to figure this out. But I didn't know what happened, and it wasn't until the next summer that I realized that, like, okay, you gotta change the way that you eat. You gotta do
no shit.
things.
So all of a sudden the metabolism, like as you get a little older, something happened where you're not losing like calories and weight as quickly as you used to.
Yep.
And then you were heavy all season, just sucking 4 goals. I had more goals that year, I think.
Yeah, it was bad. And then I had a good playoffs. That was the first year we made the playoffs, and we played Pittsburgh in the playoffs and had a good series. And I actually changed agents that year. I hired a skills guy. That's when I started working with Andy too. So I just kind of made a conscious decision to try and transform myself and become a great player.
Now that it's gone, we can talk about the Coliseum. Not talking about the fans. How bad of a building was that to play in?
I love the Collie.
Okay.
Like, man,
every guy who
it's a
plays
great
the Islanders
home
loved
barn.
it.
Unbelievable. Terrible away barn. Like, you look down at the rooms and you guys are walking in like those little towels across to the change room. It was so bad. But
I'll tell you what, though, the Ice Girls, I don't know if they were there when you first started, but fuck, they had the best ice girls in the league. They didn't. They had the twins.
There was Dallas, Chicago. We're not going to Long Island for the best ice girls.
No, they had like a set of twins there. They smelled so good. No, they smelled so good. They would go by the bench. Everybody would be looking down at each other. And there's an old story at the Coliseum, and I want to say it involved the Pittsburgh goalie, where he ended up crushing one in the locker room when he was the backup.
Yeah, because they sat down by themselves.
Yeah, they sat at the exit of the arena.
So, yes, best ice girls in the league, and then they took them away because, I don't know. I guess it's offensive to have ice girls. They had to start adding the guys.
You're going to cancel for telling the story, Biz.
Yeah, I can't confirm that story. But
fuck off. Come on, get into the ice girl.
So when we played Pittsburgh in the playoffs in 13 or 12, the lockout year, whatever it was, we were staying at the Marriott across the street, and I woke up at 7, and the parking lot was packed. We had a 12 o'clock game that day. The parking lot was packed. Like, obviously I hadn't been in the playoffs in a while. It was game 3, and we had a noon game, so we go to the rink, and we get off the ice for warm-ups, and we're sitting there, and the benches were shaking in the locker room. That's like... It's just an old school barn, and it's still the loudest rink I've ever played in. That game 3.
And I think that they're not allowing them to do the tailgating at the new arena like they used to do outside the
There's 14 speakeasies inside. I think they have to do it.
There's also 14 highways around the new arena at UBS. But yeah, it did, like, playing there, it was such a grind going in. And the teams, there were some, lean years there, so it wouldn't even be that packed. But then as the team got better, and then these recent runs before they switched arenas, it was like... Now you see why in the 80s this place was probably just insane.
Yeah, it was rocking. Like, playoffs there were pretty cool. But yeah, we did have some lean years. I remember there was a big snowstorm one time, and there was probably like 4,000 people in the building, maybe.
Frankie Borelli.
And they announced on the loudspeaker, the PA system, that everybody can move down. Like everybody move down to the lower bowl if you want to. So it was crazy.
You were there for 9 years, then you left to sign the deal here. Was it tough to leave after 9 years, or you welcoming a change at that point?
It was hard. We built something that I think was really special. I grew up with a ton of those guys, and we were tight. Like, we were a tight team. We went through the tough years, and we were just getting good. We had back-to-back 100-point seasons. Like, we were close. And it was myself, Franz Nielsen, and Matt Martin that all left that year, and it changed the framework of the team. And I never got offered a deal.
Really, that must have hurt you.
Yeah, I was bummed. And
Who was the GM then?
Snowy.
It was still Snowy. I'm sorry.
And I had eye surgery. Actually, I had to detach retina like a year and a half before, and I think they were a little concerned about that, which is totally valid. But yeah, so they didn't offer me a deal. It was hard leaving, but Buffalo was really high on my list. Actually, they had like Factor was here, like O'Reilly and Ikes were their 1-2 centers, and I'm like, man, this team's going places. This team's on the rise. So that was that was a big reason why I signed.
What were some of your most memorable memories from the Islanders? Like any funny stories off the ice that you always like to tell?
Well, we had one where we were in a rut, like we weren't playing well, and we had a rookie party, and we were taking a bus to Atlantic City. So we got thumped, I think like 6-0 the night before, and so snowy the next day. So we had practice at like 11, whatever. We practiced at 11, then we were going to take the bus to AC, and so we practiced at 11, and then we're sitting there in the locker room, and they're like, "You guys got to work out." We're like, "Come on!" Like they're just delaying it, right?
Like, you can delay the inevitable. We're still going.
Yeah. So we have a workout, and they're like, "You guys can't leave yet," and we're like, the strength coach says this to us. We're like, "What do you mean you can't leave?" And he's like, "I don't know. It's coming from up top." So we literally he held us there till 3:30. So we had to sit in rush hour traffic to go to AC.
That's a fucking asshole move.
And so I had a tough one. That was a tough rookie party for me. But
that'll just create more morale for the guys to get even more banged up on the bus.
So it turns out we got a helicopter.
Yeah, that was a good one. I don't know. We just had such a tight knit group. Like it was. I loved my years there. Like I really had a blast.
Were you surprised Tavares left? Or just the love of Toronto, right? Like it was almost kind of inevitable a little bit.
I think that he had such a pull to being somebody who like Toronto's different, right? You guys know, you guys have been around the game. Like these fans they're different. It's a different market. It's like Montreal. It's like the same thing. Hockey's a religion there. And when you grow up in that environment, when you grow up in that market, and you have a chance to go play there and to go be a difference maker into helping them win a cup after 50 years, like I think that pull was just too strong. And he wasn't planning on leaving. Like it was just, but I think that pull subconsciously was just too strong.
Yeah.
Was the dynamic of like the ownership and his friendship with DiPietro and all that, like would you guys joke around about it in the locker room? Was it did it create distractions?
No, it didn't create anything. Like Ricky was great. Like he had his good days and his bad days, but I loved Ricky. He always treated me really well. And I know it was really hard for Snowy, the whole situation. Like when Ricky he was hurt. Like his body wouldn't allow him to play anymore, right? But it was a really tough decision for Snowy because they were so close. Like they were best friends. And so for him to do what he did, when you have to take the emotion out of it in that job, in that sense, I think it was really hard for him. But no, it didn't really affect us in the locker room. Like Ricky was just one of the guys.
What was the story about him becoming the GM that you were going to tell?
Well, I mean, you guys know, like Ricky signed his deal. He signed his 15-year deal, and
were your guys jaws on the floor when that went down? Like when you heard that, were you guys like, "What the fuck?"
Him and Wong did it like 50. On the golf course or something.
Well, Neil Smith drafted me. Okay, so Neil Smith was GM to draft me. I think he was GM for 45 days, something like that.
Yep.
And so he drafts me, and then Ricky signs that deal, and Neil Smith didn't know anything about it. So like Charles just goes to him and is like, "Wait, you just signed our goalie for 15 years?" He's like, "I quit." So like, I'm not doing it. So then they were like, obviously Ricky and Charles were very close, and they're like, "Who are we going to get to be the GM?" And Snowy had a year left on his deal. He's a backup goalie, and they were best friends. And Ricky's like, "Well, Snowy's always doing like trades and like looking at salaries and stuff in the back of the bus. Like maybe we should look at him." And that's
Snowy won our fantasy league last year.
I was just gonna say he's fucking doing fantasy on Yahoo Sports. Now, next thing you know, he's a GM of a National League team. That's how that all happened.
That's what happened, and so that's how he became the GM. And to his credit, Snowy did a great job. Like Snowy learned; he had to learn on the fly, right? Like nobody told him what to do. Yeah. Like think of how much stuff goes into being a GM that you got to learn. But he did a great job. He learned on the fly, and he ended up being a really good GM.
Well, I mean, like you talk about all the little things. Like, wasn't it Chicago where they forgot to send out offer sheets to guys, or not offer
I think
sheets,
Dale Talon,
qualifying offers?
Yeah, Dale Talon took the hit for that, but I feel like that's probably on somebody else within the hockey office to make sure those get in the mail. But Billy Guerin just came out. I saw him doing an interview on NHL Network. He's like, you just have no idea how much goes into this. You're getting pulled in a million different directions. Snowy just comes from playing to all of a sudden doing that. It is pretty impressive to kind of learn on the fly and realize, like, wow, this isn't just like throw an offer in the trade machine online and see if it hits for my fantasy league.
So all things considered, I guess he did pretty good because he got you guys to where you were, and you guys did end up having a bunch of success.
Yeah, for sure. He did do a good job. And I think one of the things that maybe he struggled with was when you go from being a player, like, you're still so emotional about the guys in the room, right? You still have all those ties to guys, and it's hard to cut those things off because in some sense, I think when you're a manager, obviously I'm not there, but you got to be able to separate that. You got to be able to separate emotion from the job. So.
In that same vein, I guess there's still a lot of guys that you played with on that team where you kind of, I know you're on a different team, but sort of pulling for them when they were, getting the playoff runs the last couple of years. Not to put you in a weird spot, but
no, I think that, I mean, I know you guys have talked about it, but I think it's pretty natural when you switch teams. You kind of want them to, like, suck a little bit, right? That's a normal human reaction, right? Like, and when I left that team, like, I was devastated, and I really did want them to do well. And when they made their run, when they lost to Tampa 1-0 in Game 7, I don't know if it was the first year or the second. I think it was the second year. Like, I was going to Game 1 of the finals.
You were going?
I would have gone. Yeah, I was already texted their PR guy like I was going because I still have a lot of guys that I care about on that team, and
it had almost been what 4 years at that point.
Yeah, it had been a while.
It's a little bit of like if it happened the next year, that's when you're just like, oh, fuck.
Why do you know?
Yeah, I know something about that.
So Matty Molson's is he the godparents of your children?
Yes. So he's godfather. Him and Alesha are godfather to Ellie, to our oldest, and we're godfather to their son George. So.
And that friendship all began with the Islanders. I don't know how it worked out, whether it was you or Matty who ended up going over to Buffalo after first. So was that part of why you ended up signing there as well?
Not exactly, but yeah, they were in Buffalo. So they got traded. I can't remember. I think it was a year after we made the playoffs. One of the year, I can't remember which year it was, but so he got traded, I think 10 or 11 games in, and he was on a heater. Like, and our team was super tight, and he was a glue guy in our room, but they just weren't going to sign him long term. So they traded him for Vanek, and like that was pretty devastating. Like, it was tough. Like,
until
I love
you
Van.
got to play with Vanek.
And hadn't he just had a kid, their son?
George was born like literally a week before, I think, or 2 weeks before, and they lived
you're
3
lighting
doors.
It up. You're feeling great. Your newborn son, boom, traded. That's the business.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so he goes to Buffalo, and then he went to Mini later that year, and then re-signed back in Buffalo. So when I signed in Buffalo, obviously we called them and told them, and it was. I mean, obviously we were super excited to be playing with them again. Like, that doesn't really happen, right? Like, you go through this business, you go through the game, and you have, one or two people that you truly connect with for the rest of your lives, and they're them for us. Like, they will be our forever friends, like their family.
Yeah.
So coming to Buffalo, obviously got a nice deal here, but did you have other offers on the table that have come down on a handful of teams, or was it like Buffalo right away from the jump?
Well, it was kind of a crazy day. Like, if you guys remember, within 45 minutes, Weber got traded for Subban, and Hall got traded for Larson, and Stammer signed within 45 minutes. And
I was on a golf trip. I remember all that.
I was on the golf course, actually, when that happened. I was playing Wayzata Country Club in Minnesota, and it was like my free agent, whatever, the negotiating period. So I was stressed as all get up. And then right when that happened, I had a call with them, I think, with Buffalo, because they were in on Stammer. And once Stammer signed, that's when Buffalo called, and the deal got done pretty quick.
So they were kind of waiting for that domino to fall. Yeah, there was, I forget who might have been with you. I was chatting, like, Stamkos almost did leave Tampa that summer. That was kind of crazy.
He was fielding offers for sure, I think. Like, and then, I think they just kind of sold him on the no tax and, building what you started. And that was a crazy situation.
I know it was, significant roster turnover, different coaches, but you've had Don Granado for the last couple of years. It feels like there's some actual stability. But how much prior to that, how much does that much turnover affect the team, affect the locker room?
I think it has a pretty big impact on how things run. Like, it's I think I've had 3 different GMs here, and it's hard when you have turnover and you have somebody coming in with a new vision, and people are running things different ways. Like, it definitely affects the guys. But throughout the whole regime changes, I think I've tried to do just a good job of just being myself, and that's kind of where I've gotten to now. Is I went into last season and there was a lot of things going on, and my whole thing was I'm just going to be unapologetically myself. And that's how I try and live my life. And, it worked out. And I think that, we're in a really good spot.
Kevin Adams mentioned, I think, that you're one of the best leaders he's ever been around in the game. And going through these seasons, and we'll get into kind of your injury and what happened with you there, it's probably been pretty tough to have days when you have to show up and just, like, be positive even throughout all this kind of disaster throughout some of this run. But what cracked me up yesterday was that you told me when the season turned around last year, it's because you guys started playing Biz's quotes in the locker room.
Get the fuck out of here.
Biz was shit talking to me. He's playing the videos.
I said I was going to take a shit on Chippewa Street. That probably did it. I'm worried about getting shanked in this town right now.
We were sitting in the room, and Millsy comes in, and he's like, "Do you hear what Biz is saying?" I'm like, "No, what's going on?" And he's like, "Yeah, Biz has been all over us." I'm like, "Why? He's from Welland. Like, you're a Buffalo guy, basically."
I was trying to get the motivation back. I needed to see what you guys were made of, and I think I turned the season around for you guys. I should be like an honorary member of the team. Maybe I can get a $750 contract like every other fucking guy on your team. How many $750K deals were paid out?
17 of them.
Yeah.
No goalie for that last year.
But last year, halfway through the season, it did seem like something just clicked. And I know that, and I don't know how much you want to dive into it, the Eichel situation and the trade, once that was finally done, it seems like there was a big weight lifted off the organization, and you guys really thrived a lot more after that.
Well, that situation was very stressful on everybody. Like I love Jack. He's a good friend of mine. And like, obviously I have a job to do, and I'm a Sabres player, and Jack and I have had so many conversations, and we've talked about it so much, and the only person that's ever going to be privy to those is Jack. And he knows exactly how I feel about him. He knows I care about him, and he knows that I'll do anything to help him. And it was such a difficult situation because for whatever reason, the CBA was written to where the team had control of the final medical thing. And as a person, obviously, you're not going to let anybody tell you what to do with your body, right? So it was a rock and a hard place. And I think that Pat Brisson, who's my agent, he when he came in, he did a great job of navigating the whole situation, and him and Kevin worked really closely together to get that done in an amicable way. And I'm so happy that Jack ended up getting the surgery, and now he's healthy. And I think for our team and the way that it affected us, like, Kevin came in and was very, very honest about what was going on right off the bat. And so in the locker room, like, it didn't really affect us too much. Like, and Jack wasn't around, which sucked, and it sucked not having him around. But like, we just kind of were focused on playing, and that's just what we tried to do.
So do you think that if that whole situation didn't go down of them wanting him to get the certain surgery, do you think that could have been like a mended relationship? Like, do you think he could potentially still be a Buffalo Sabre if that wouldn't have went down?
Possibly. I think the only person that knows the answer to that is Jack. But
okay.
It'd be different. If he was able to get the surgery that he wanted, maybe. But I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Sorry to put you in a tough spot there.
Right.
Well,
just grilling them.
Well, no, but you talk about injuries, and I mentioned quickly, man, you had a concussion that was really hard for you, right? I mean, I think it led to some depression and, like, weight loss and things. So how did that happen, first off, and then how tough was the road back and finally getting healthy again from something like that?
That one changed my life and ended up changing it for the better, but it was pretty scary. So I was actually at a rehab skate, and I was coming back. I think I had broke my ribs, and I was skating with Will Carrier and Dennis Miller, who was our rehab coach at the time, and we were doing a battle drill, and I just got hit, and my head hit the boards just like that. Like, it wasn't anything,
nothing that violent or
nothing
anything
crazy, but my head hit the glass. For people that are listening, it just hit the glass sideways, and I remember coming off the ice, and I grabbed a shake. And I hadn't had one of those shakes since college. And I don't know why. Like, it just, something happened in my brain where it just completely switched how I was thinking and how I was processing. And so I went into this mode of like, I need to fix everything. I need to fix Buffalo. I need to fix the Sabres. I need to fix every relationship in my life. I need to do all these things, and I couldn't stop. And so I couldn't sleep.
It was like a little manic almost.
I was manic. That's what it was.
Wow.
And so I didn't sleep for 6 days, and I essentially lost my mind. Like I could not sleep. I knew I needed to sleep, but I knew something was wrong with my neck, and I needed it fixed. And I couldn't shut it off.
Must have been scary for your wife. Like,
super scary. Like, it was scary. Like, I ended up in the ambulance, and I ended up calling Mark Lindsay, who's
the legend.
He's a legend.
Sean Horkoff's told me about him, and people don't know.
He's a concussion doctor?
He's like an everything doctor, right? He can do
a
it all.
Man.
Yeah,
he's a magic man. So that's how I got fixed. So fast forward 6 weeks. I ended up taking all these different drugs to just calm me down, like antipsychotics, antidepressants. Like, I've never had any sort of mental health issues in my life, and that was my first bout of, paranoia, anxiety, whatever you want to call it. So I do some things with mental health now after going through that experience, like and realizing what people go through. Like, it's incredible that
and
people
then not having the ability to get help as good as you got, right?
Exactly. So fast forward 6 weeks, and I'm still on 3 different drugs. I'm still on, I don't know what they are, antipsychotics, antidepressants, and I knew that something was still messed up in my neck. Like, it never fixed the problem. It just masked it, right?
It's almost just trying to calm you down, but you still have the issue.
So I call Linz, and I'm like, Linz, I need you. Like, I need you to fix me. So he's like, all right, we're going to take a chopper to Kingston. So we get in the helicopter, and he's doing his thing. He's like, how you doing? And I'm like, not good. Like, I'm super anxious, whatever. And so we do some imaging of my brain, and get an MRI, and we look at those results, and then he treats me. And like, if this guy gets his hands on you, it's just different. Like, his hands are different. And so he goes in my mouth, and he gets the spot, and my eyes roll back in my head. And when I was in the hospital, I had seizures, and so he goes, that's the spot, buddy. And so
the pain must have been.
He goes, if I take my hand off, you're going to have a seizure again. So he ends up treating me for like an hour and a half. And after he adjusted me, he treats me for an hour and a half, and then he finally gets the adjustment that he wants. And I start bawling. Started absolutely bawling my eyes out. And it was
the
like
relief,
a watershed moment. Like, I went home and I slept on the couch for 3 hours, and then I slept for 9 hours at night. And it was the first time I'd slept more than 4 hours in 8 weeks.
That story gives me fucking goosebumps.
Fuck,
yeah,
dude,
so these guys worked with Tiger Woods. I mean, he's like legitimately, I guess you could call him a Cairo, but I know like with Andy O'Brien, there's a connection there, right? He really has like changed people's lives.
Yeah.
So how long after that did it take you to come back and start playing again? Did you just need to take some time away and just completely hit the reset button?
So I was super nervous because I didn't know if I was going to be able to sleep on the road. Like, this is where my head was at. Like, I didn't know if I was going to be able to go on the road and like go to bed, because I needed a routine to go to sleep. Like, because I was so scared that I was going to go back down this road of like not sleeping. And so that was like the only thing that was on my mind going into training camp was like, am I going to be able to go to sleep on the road? So I mean, I had a tough season that year. It was hard to play for me. But once I figured out that I could play, then I tried to, get back into that training, that routine that I had been in previously. But it took a while. It took a while for me to feel comfortable again on the ice, and something that I live with now, and now know how to deal with. But it was difficult getting back into it.
And that's one of those things people see, like some of the years, they don't really understand what people are going through. And now this year, you have just this big year, right? Like, it must have felt so good for you to feel healthy again and get some confidence back and be such a leader on a team where it's like, all right, I can still play at a high level. That must be pretty reassuring to you going into the next season.
It was cool. It was really cool, like just having the year that, we had as a team. I think we went into it, or I went into it personally, and like I try and make sure that everybody's okay. Like I try and take care of everybody else, but I made sure, like, you can't do that unless you're okay. You can't take care of anybody else. It's like the whole airplane thing, like put your mask on before you assist other people, right? And it seems counterintuitive sometime to me, but I had to make sure that I was okay this year, and that's all I did. I said, I'm just going to make sure that I take care of myself and make sure that I'm good. And like, I had a routine that I stuck to, like literally every single day. You know exactly where to find me. I'm sitting there doing a crossword in the trainer's room.
Fucking crossword guys.
You're a vet in the show if you're doing
flexing your brain muscles.
Our whole team does them now. It's actually awesome. Like
even the young guys
couldn't even get in the locker room.
Googling the answers though nowadays.
Legs crossed.
Legs crossed, coffee.
just a pompous asshole. Oh yeah, I did the Sunday in 15 minutes.
You couldn't do the New York Times one.
15 days for you, Biz.
Oh my God!
And I read the article in the Athletic. Tremendous article, by the way, about the injury and what you went through. What was, like, for lack of a better word, incredible to me is like a hit like that sort of like triggered these for memories. And I know you didn't want to discuss the article of my childhood, and that it was just so crazy to me the way the brain operates. That like almost an innocuous hit like that kind of put you into this sort of tailspin.
All these things just came flooding back that I hadn't thought about in years and years and years, and then they were so clear. And then all of a sudden, they became distorted. Like you're in that mode for so long. You're in that sympathetic. You're using your sympathetic nervous system so much. Like your parasympathetics, your rest and recovery, and your sympathetics, your fight and flight. Right. So like you're in that sympathetic nervous system for so long that those memories become disjointed, and then you can't decipher what's reality and what's not. And that's kind of the mode I was in. But yeah, crazy experience.
No, those like were these things you were unaware of, whether they were just buried so deep. I was just always curious about like that type of stuff.
Buried very deep, and stuff that for sure like shaped me as to who the person I am today. But the stuff that you're not conscious of, they're just buried. So, and everybody does it, right? Everybody stuffs, and it's such a bad thing, and it's something that now. In the locker room, like I know it's super taboo, right, to talk about mental health and whatever. Like I don't, like fuck that, man. Like we in the room, like I'm telling guys, like if somebody's having a bad day, I'm going over there and I'm asking how they're doing. And like sometimes they tell me a lot, sometimes they don't tell me that much, which is fine. That's up to them. And can't force anybody to share, but just as long as you know that you're in a space that you can be able to do that, I think is so important. And like that's something that I'm trying to change from the old school ways. Like that's. I don't know.
Do you have like exercises that you do in order so it doesn't compile the way that it maybe did when you went through your injury and everything really came to light?
For sure. I talk to different people. I mean, number one is my wife, Danielle. Like, we've been best friends since we were 15 years old.
You guys met at a movie theater.
Yeah, we met at a movie theater.
She played at St. Cloud, too. I didn't know that.
Oh,
she was
really?
telling me last night.
Okay.
She was also telling me about having to cook you every friggin' pregame meal. I'm like, make the guy go to Olive Garden or something. She's like, no. Now I'm talking to you. I understand. That's part of the process.
Yeah. Oh, geez, the ultimate slump buster, actually.
Yeah, it's the best.
Every meal.
Me and Murr had 4,000 breadsticks one season during the lockout.
So she's been your rock.
She's been my rock, and we, like, every night that I'm home, we sit there, we put the kids to bed, and we just talk for 2 hours. And like that's my therapy, right?
Wow.
Like it's you just talk about everything. Like there's no secrets between her and I. It's just like I found that is something that is super important to me, and I don't know where I'd be without her.
Staying awake for 2 hours with 4 kids is impressive on its own. Jesus. But I'm a big Sabres guy. A ton of my friends are alumni. The great years, Conley, Briere, all those guys, Miller. I'm really excited for what you guys got going. Is there a guy that's off the map? Maybe you saw him at camp last year. He was in Roch, or we got a couple games this year that I can really look forward to this year?
I mean, I'd say J.J. Peterka and Jack Quinn. I mean, those are the two like can't miss prospects in Roch. But I think if you're looking for an under the radar guy, I'd go with Matthias Samuelsson. Like this guy's a unit. And his old man played in the NHL for 14 years, big D man, and he just plays hard. And like we have so many young guys that are, haven't reached their full potential and maybe won't for a little while, and that's okay. They're going to grow at their own pace, but they have an environment to do that now, and they're going to get the opportunity. And like, you got Casey Middlestead up front, you got Cuzzy, who are
Cousins looks sick.
He's such a
That
good
Thompson
kid's
kid's
heady.
fucking nasty.
And
Too.
talk about Tomer, like he scored
legit, dude.
he scored 38 last year, and like that's not a fluke. Like he was dominant, and and the best part about it is all these guys are such good kids. They are. They're really, really good people. In our group, like we sit in the locker room after for an hour, like it's like college. Like it's so much fun, and just to watch these kids grow up, it reminds me so much of my time on the island. But go back to your question, and you got on the back. I mean, talk about the rest of the back end. Like you got Dahlin in power. Like Dahlin's 22 years old. Like
that's a guy I wanted to ask about. Like you're so used to these number one picks and ripping it up right away, and defense is way harder. It's like this guy's still going to have a special career, right? Because you see him with the puck, it's one thing. So is it more just cleaning up the defense while also remaining so confident with the puck?
Yeah, I mean, he just playing D in the NHL is hard, man.
No.
Like it's.
I couldn't do it.
I never did it.
Think
That's why he never even tried.
it was only starting in the
Liability.
office of his own face-offs.
I mean, these guys are so fast and so skilled now. You got to learn how to play D. You got to learn how to be efficient at defense, right? And I think that's something that Dahlin's getting a lot better at, and he's only going to continue to grow in that regard. Like, you got guys like Makar and Heiskanen out there who are absolute studs, and they're unicorns. And Dahlin's going to grow into his own game. Like Hedman didn't pop off till the year before. I remember playing against Hedman at the first couple of years and was like, oh, this guy's not great. And then all of a sudden, like, you can't even get around him. You can't even think about getting around him. Like, Dahls is on that trajectory, and he has the drive. He's so driven.
Okay.
Like, he wants to be the best. He's out there 20 minutes before. He's shooting pucks. Like, he has a drive that's unmatched. And a lot of our guys have similar drives like that. And Owen is like, he just got his feet wet last year, and he was a number one pick, and he's so heady. Like, he's super cerebral out there. Like, he shouldn't be doing these things at 19 years old, like what he did last year. So, like, we got a lot of guys. And Yoki Haru, he's really solid, really under the radar. Nobody talks about him, but he's also 21 years old.
I'm all in on the Sabres next year.
Wait.
I've heard enough.
Give me 1,000.
I'm getting a tattoo on my ass.
The Buffalo and Detroit are very. It's like the next 3-4 years, even sooner is pretty special times for those two teams. I think of them in similar fashions. But
I mentioned Don Granato earlier. You said he basically made it fun again. He had a style that was more upbeat and not as rigid as you were playing before. So he just won that team over pretty much right away.
He looks like the teacher from South Park a little bit, doesn't he? Is it the teacher I'm thinking of? Do you guys know the name?
I literally laugh at your face
What?
as you ask.
Mr. Garrison, doesn't he? He's got tough salad. Tough salad.
Donnie's awesome. He's a hockey lifer, right? Like, he comes from a hockey family, and he just loves the game. And he tells us to play fearless. And I said this I talked to the prospects last week, and somebody asked me, how do you earn a coach's trust? And it was an interesting question, but like, when you first got in the league, you couldn't turn the pucks over the blue line. Like, absolutely not happening. Or you're sitting on the bench. And Donnie's like, he talks about psychology a little bit, but he talks about playing fearless, and like, he's like, why would you play any other way? Like, that's how you're going to play your best. And if you're on your heels, like, you're going to stink no matter what. And you see it all the time. Like, guys get tight in tight games or whatever, but that's our whole mentality, is to learn how to attack. Just like attack, play, make plays, play fearless. But like, when you screw up, obviously get back, like, but the whole fearless mentality, I think, was really good for our team.
That's awesome.
Well, I want to put you on the spot. I got a really tough question. I don't know if you want to answer it. Mikey can erase it if it gets really bad. But Buffalo, who has the best wings?
Oh, no. Uh-oh.
Wow.
Pardon my takes all over these wing nuts.
Have you ever heard of wing nuts?
I have not heard of Wingnut.
Yeah, there's a lot of people locally who have it. It was a place that the PMT podcast.
I think they
discovered.
were in their garage.
It's just like a Knights of Columbus.
They were in their house, and then they went to the Knights of Columbus, and Pardon My Take did a big thing. But I asked another local; he hadn't heard of them. So there's got to be another spot that you know of.
I'm probably going to catch some heat from a lot of different places, but Bar Bill
Yes,
is
that's
incredible.
what I had in my blog for my Buffalo concierge.
Bar Bill is
Yes.
incredible. Yeah, there's 2 spots. One in the South Towns. One just opened up by my place, in North Towns in Williamsville. It's on Main Street. So that one's solid. And I mean, Lenova is always awesome.
Lenova sheet pizza is the best thing in the world. Some wings. I plan on getting some delivered to the Chiclets Cup. It's the best.
Murley could move to L.A., like Lake Como, Spain, or Buffalo, and he's coming here every time. Dude, you legit live for Buffalo.
One thing we haven't talked about is the fact that we did do a sandbagger. We didn't even get to chat much on the course because it was a pretty intense match the entire round. Now let's talk about your love for golf. I think you did your bachelor party at Bandon Dunes.
Bandon Dunes.
That was Johnny's bachelor party at Bandon Dunes, but
really?
Tavares' yeah.
Oh, he's a
okay.
golf nut?
Yeah, he loves it too. But I love golf. I love golf, and I'm actually involved a little bit in the PGL.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah,
I don't even know what that is.
So the PGL is another form of like I shouldn't step on his toes, but basically Live Golf stolen a lot of ideas from PGL. PGL was early on in terms of getting team golf, getting teams and drafts, and Live Tours basically stole all their ideas.
Wow, you perked up there. They
and like
stole all your
Rory and
ideas.
Guys were willing to work with PGL, and Live's just
So originally, when I had invested in the company, like the Saudis were half backers, they were putting up half the money, and we had heard from everybody, and like obviously with everything going on in the world, like we didn't want to take their money, and so it ended up we terminated the relationship, and then so they took the ideas, they took all the paperwork and everything,
and they took people who worked for PGL.
They took people who worked for PGL, and they essentially started this new tour, and like golf is. I love it, right? Like you love the majors. I know Whit, you love it too. But I think it's a problem when well, first of all, the PGA is a nonprofit. The PGA Tour is a nonprofit, so it's run a little bit differently. It's not run like a business. And you go into the John Deere Classic or the Rocket Mortgage or this weekend's the 3M, like nobody's watching those tournaments. Nobody's watching those tournaments.
There's like 3 tournaments that matter besides the majors. It's brutal.
That's a problem, and so that's what we wanted to fix. Like it's not about the money. Like this is about golf. Like I love the game of golf, and I want to see the best players in the world playing against each other all the time. And the way that we formatted it and are trying to still format it, like that would happen. And so like if you ask any sports writer that covers all the sports, like what's the best event you've been at? The Ryder Cup.
Ryder Cup.
It's unbelievable.
But you get it what, every 2 years?
You get it every 2 years, but like that's what we want to create. And obviously it's not going to be to that extent because, they're playing for their countries. Like it's like the Olympics, right? Like it's just a little bit different, but like you want to create like first round of playoff in the NHL atmosphere. It's incredible, right? Like Stanley Cup final, the Stanley Cup playoffs, it's the best. I think it's the best sporting event, obviously,
agreed.
whatever. But you want to create that in golf. So like if you have like legitimate teams, like what Live Golf is doing, they're changing team names or whatever, changing all this stuff. Like
the Fireballs.
This would be something where you'd have team owners, you'd have like an actual brand where people could follow, and like that. So that's what we were trying to create. And there's still a lot of things going on behind the scenes there.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to stay in touch with or keep up with. But we actually, myself and Kyle are going to go play some golf ourselves right now. So,
my last question was just going to be: I read that you're a big movie buff. Now I know I'm surprised RA didn't pick that one up. You did I don't want to say a movie report on The Dark Knight for NHL.com.
Wow, that was dug up a while ago, but yeah, The Dark Knight Rises, I believe.
Okay,
I think it was the third one. Which I didn't love as much as The Dark Knight. I mean, how do you follow The Dark Knight? Like,
that movie's
one
sick.
of the best.
Yeah,
it's one of the best like superhero movies of all time, if not the best.
Probably the best.
Yeah. So yeah, I love movies. I'm a huge movie buff. I obviously don't get to watch as many because I got 4 kids now. But I just watched a great show, The Terminal List, on Amazon.
My brother just told me about that.
Chris Pratt.
I haven't seen
and
it.
Apparently he doesn't know if the memories are real. Like there's a lot of like you're not sure what's true and what's not watching the show.
Dream within a dream within a dream.
Yeah, like something basically he had like his ambushed, like and then he doesn't know if he was set up, and like he has all these different memories about it. But enough where my brother mentioned it right before I saw you the other day, and he's like, "Dude, you got to watch this show." So that's on my radar.
It's a really
now.
good show. And I heard you talking about Man on Fire. You went to it twice in the theaters.
3 times in theaters.
3 times. That was I put that down as my favorite movie for a long time, and I just changed it. I think 5 years ago. My favorite movie now is The Count of Monte Cristo. A little well known, like
old
not
school
movie.
I've never even heard of it.
About payback,
Ultimate revenge story.
waiting out revenge.
You know what I just found out? Man on Fire is actually the Denzel one. That was actually a remake of like a 1980s movie. I somehow never knew that. Yeah.
Already was an extra in it.
Yeah. One more movie thing too. Reading up the article about your injury there. You still have I think it was your first date with your wife. Your ticket stub triple X.
No way! You went to Vin Diesel's Triple X.
Yeah, we did. We went to that was where we met, and I was going to Shattuck. It was like late August.
Did you put a hole in the bottom of the popcorn?
It was late August.
They were 14, Biz.
And we were,
Oh,
yeah, there was 5 of us, and we like had strategically positioned ourselves so the girls would have to sit in these places. There's 2 girls, and so they walk in, and there was an open spot next to me, and she walks in and she asked my buddy to move over so she didn't have to sit next to me. So that was
That's when you
the
know.
rest is history. You still got the stuff. Is it framed in the house?
She's got it somewhere, but yeah, we still got that.
All of his kids are named after characters in the movie. Quick, let's go back to the movie thing though. Like if you had to give like a top 5, are you a movie classic? You like to go to throwbacks?
Drama for sure. Like I like the story. Like I like thrillers. I like dramas. I like thick plots. I love obviously revenge, payback, like I said. I'm not a huge comedy guy, to be honest with you. I love Wedding Crashers. I think that's like awesome comedy. I think old school changes genre, and like I love that era of comedy. But yeah, I love dramas.
Do you follow like the Oscars and all the Globes and all that stuff? Like
I don't do that stuff. Like
busy playing hockey.
Yeah, but it's like there's so many like artsy movies now, and I'm just not there with like the more like I think Apple TV Plus, right? I think that they kind of do a lot more artsy films and shows, and I'm just not as quite into that. Like I think The Morning Show is really good, really well shot. I watched that one. But yeah, not into that stuff as much.
Okay.
Well, buddy, this has been awesome.
Yeah, we want to thank the Labatt
Unreal.
Brew House for letting us interview this beauty in their. What is this part?
This is the tap room.
Yeah, this is great. Really cool spot, and we're at the Riverworks all week. So thank you to the Labatt Brew House, and thank you to you, Kyle, because that was awesome for us to hear about your story, and a lot of that's pretty emotional stuff. So we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, fans are gonna love it. Thank you, Kyle.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Huge thanks to Kyle for joining us, man. Just an awesome guy. I want to let you know that his interview is also brought to you by our friends at Blue Nile. Celebrate all of life's special moments with BlueNile.com. Create the custom engagement ring of her dreams or gift a classic and timeless jewelry piece, all at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. For a custom engagement ring, Blue Nile has simple online tools that let you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as setting style. Or if you're shopping for fine jewelry, Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every budget. I mentioned before, I got my wife a beautiful tennis bracelet, a nice set of earrings over the years. Dealing with Blue Nile, it's a cinch. It's so easy. Awesome people to deal with. They'll take care of you if you're not too, keen on the jewelry front. So make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And going on now is the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale. Save up to 40% on classic fine jewelry pieces and 25% on engagement ring settings. Every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. All right, boys. Kyle Okposo, man, let's talk about him for a second. Just a tremendous guy. You could get, what, Biz, we interview these guys. You get a good sense of these guys right away, what kind of people they are. And just right away when you shake his hand, he looks you in the eye, and he's just a tremendous fella. What can you share with us from golfing with him all day?
Just a really classy guy. And I mentioned what Kevin Adams said about him, and you get to know him right away, and you can just kind of sense that he is a leader in every sense of the word. And it goes without saying that a guy who's a real high draft pick, he's been in 2 places that, while having a couple good years, the teams overall have struggled a little bit. And so to remain positive throughout all that, is really difficult. And I think when a guy who's been in the league as long as he's coming up on 1,000 games played, can go through losing seasons and still have GMs, coaches, and teammates talk about how professional he is. That is the true like definition of a winner. Like, I know it sounds crazy if he's been on a lot of losing teams, but his attitude and the way he approaches the game and practices, more importantly, show that like when you look back on teams that have struggled, you're never going to look at him being one of the reasons. And once we got to go through and hear the story of his injury and what he had to go through, and the feeling of relief and like true joy when it was fixed is just like emotional. I think the whole room kind of, I don't want to say we gasped, but it was just like, this is heavy stuff. And I really appreciate him coming on. He is a golf nut, dude. He is like probably a bigger golf nut than me. We talked about definitely getting together for a trip at some point. He's got a lot of great hookups and he loves the game. And I think I know that he's gonna have a lot to do with Buffalo getting better and better these next few years.
And probably their next captain, and should be their next captain. The one thing that stood out to me, I mean, obviously, aside from everything you just mentioned, like him going through all that adversity with his injury and then having the mind frame coming out of it and just the way that he conducts himself. And then just him talking about how when he puts the kids to bed, him and his wife, they met at the movie theater and they've been best friends ever since. And they talk for a few hours before bed every night. It was just really, really, really cool to hear how big of a family man he is and the way that he views life and the way that he approaches it, excuse me. So what a guy. That was the first time I've ever actually had a lot of time to spend with him. He was kind enough after we went and golfed and did the Sandbagger to invite us out to eat at a local restaurant. And we went with him, Maddie Molson, and both their wives. And it was great to just chat with them and hear about their lives. So thank you to him, Maddie Molson and crew. And it kind of just, it was a great way to start off that Buffalo trip.
Absolutely. And if you have a subscription to The Athletic, I implore you to check out the article about him and the injury he went through in the aftermath. It was really eye-opening. It wasn't a typical concussion thing. We got into it in the interview, but if you want to read more about it, I suggest you do so. So thanks again to Kyle. Awesome interview. Here's another note. Seattle's Jonas Donskoy had his number 72 retired at a skate park in, if I could read the card here, Rahi, Finland, after he donated $2,600 to keep the indoor park running. So pretty cool gesture, man. It was pretty funny that they slapped the jersey up in the rafters of this indoor skate
Good
park.
video.
Yeah, it was a good video. So congrats to Jonas on getting that done. And, for everybody who gets to enjoy the park, little small gestures like this. I mean, when guys make a lot of money, it impacts so many people, man. So we like to highlight.
I don't know if Ollie and Jacob, the on the bench guys who ended up joining me on the third line for the ball hockey team, they met when they were skateboarding. That's how they ended up becoming friends. And that's when they, started doing these like little hockey things, and then it evolved into them doing it full time now. So it was kind of funny how it all comes full circle, that story ends up hitting us while we were out at that Mexican restaurant enjoying the Big Deal Select successful weekend. From at least a friendship perspective, they explained to me that was the case. So I was never a skateboarder. I imagine with your weak ass ankles, you were never a skateboarder. Whit.
I couldn't even get on one. Like I think one time I tried getting on one, it's like I went down. Like I have no ability to push with the one foot, then kind of turn the foot that's on there, place the other foot on it, and then like grind or whatever they fucking call it.
Didn't you say Jans was big into skateboarding?
Oh yeah, he wore airwalks and shit too.
That's nasty.
Did an ollie one time.
All right, do we even need to ask, were you a skateboarder?
No,
I just smoked with him.
Yeah, I hung on. No, I had skateboards, but like everything else of an athletic endeavor I tried, I wasn't particularly adept at it. So not much of a boarder, not really into the boarder culture. I think I owned a pair of airwalks at one point. That's probably the extent of it. You mentioned the restaurant. We should give a shout out to Casa El Azul in Buffalo. Tremendous meal we had there Saturday night. I know you guys were down the other end of the table, didn't get the chit chat too much.
It was so fun.
I had that pescado, the cod that was on the menu, the fish, one of the best fish plates I've ever had anywhere. Just tremendous.
Well, the reason I picked that place, RA, is because I know how much you love margaritas. You're the margarita man of the podcast.
Yes, I've definitely become the mezcal / margarita guy of the show. So
you drink?
Biz, if there's a non-hockey thing that you would have your number retired for, what would it be? Like some random thing?
Go ahead, Whit. I know what you're going to say.
I got a couple. I don't know if you want me to say
No,
it.
no, don't say it.
How about selling used clothes?
Oh, shut the fuck up.
What about for Whitbiz? What would he ever retire?
Oh, I know mine. Paying for all of my friends every single night out from like 2006 to 2012.
Ooh.
Okay, that's a kind gesture.
I got my boys when we were in the going out stage, right? I had my boys.
Hey, absolutely. Why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
All right. Well, we got a final few notes here before we get to those. We want to let you know that body armor, the stuff that kept us hydrated and fueled all weekend, is made for today's athlete that deserves more than just a sports drink. It's got potassium-packed electrolytes, antioxidants, and no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or dyes. Because today's athletes deserve more than just your grandfather's tired, old, salty sports drink, which is full of artificial dyes. Body Armor Sport comes in strawberry banana, fruit punch, blue raspberry, watermelon strawberry, and a whole bunch more, plus the new flavor, Mamba Forever, which is strawberry grape flavor. That sounds good. My favorite flavor right now is the fruit punch. I gassed a bunch of those over the weekend, had to stay hydrated coaching behind the bench for the boys there. Either way, stay hydrated with Body Armor, the sports drink for today's athletes. All flavors of Body Armor are available for order on Amazon right now, and you can learn more at drinkbodyarmor.com. Boys, it's been a tough week for actors who played mob characters, and we talked about it before. Well, yet another actor from Goodfellas has passed away. Paul Sorvino, who famously played Paulie Cicero in Goodfellas, died at 83 years old. He's also in The Gambler, The Firm. He was on Law & Order on TV. This is just crazy, man. They've lost 3 cast members already in just a couple months. You're obviously familiar with him, with Paulie Cicero.
Oh, yeah. Guy was a great actor. His face just screamed playing a mobster in a movie.
And he had that quiet menace. But I think the best clip was when his daughter Mira won the Oscar, and she praised his dad. He kind of broke down or had an emotional moment.
I remember that.
So it was pretty good clip. But our obviously sympathies to any friends and family members of Paul Sorvino who may be listening. Terrible news to hear. How about this? $230 million just doesn't buy it what you used to, huh, boys? Kyler Murray, the Arizona Cardinals quarterback, his contract stipulates that he must do, quote, 4 hours of independent study, end quote, each game week. He has actually, I guess this guy doesn't like to pick up the books much. He has it in his contract that he has to study 4 hours each week, and it says it in the contract, he can't have his TV on, or he can't be playing video games.
Is
like
bananas.
$230 million 5-year deal, and he has to have it put in print.
Here we are chirping hockey players for asking out of town to go play in a different city. This guy's making 250 sheets, and they have to beg him to fucking read his playbook.
It's like, maybe if that's in the contract, you might not want to be giving out this contract. Not to mention, I think the Cardinals the past 2 seasons have started off just lights out and completely shit the bed the second half of the season with a quarterback who at times looks like he's running around with no clue what to do. I read that. I was shocked. I didn't even see it until you sent this outline, RA. I was like, I just don't know how you justify that signing if you know the guy almost refuses to study game film. It's like the most important thing for quarterbacks, they say. So good luck to the Cardinals, I guess. But if he ends up sucking and ends up not being their starter in a year, 2 years, 3 years, it's like you really have no one to blame but yourself, because the writing was on the wall in terms of work ethic.
Yeah, you can't just wing it as a quarterback, I don't think.
No pun intended.
Biz, I mentioned a few minutes ago about the sharks and the shark bites on Long Island. There was a quote from a Nassau County executive, which I thought was kind of a crazy quote to say. He said,
don't warn people about shark attacks.
Hey, nature's going to do what it's going to do. No, he said, if you're going to go in the ocean, it's good to go with a partner.
So you both get eaten.
No, go with someone slower. Always go on a protected beach with their lifeguards. Always stay together and be conscious of your surroundings. If you do those things, you will be safe. How can you tell people they're going to be safe? It's a fucking shark, man.
Give your old lady a scratch and sniff blood bathing suit.
By the way, I've been afraid of sharks.
I got you this new 2-piece. I
have been afraid of sharks since long before they've now been all over Cape Cod and New York and all these areas.
Global warming.
So I've always I go in. If I go in the ocean, I'm dunking and I'm immediately out, or I'm up to my knees playing with the kids. to go out in the ocean where you can't touch the bottom, I think that's crazier than Noseface having a kid and coming to fucking Chiclets Cup.
Yeah,
and there's
true.
not many things crazier than that. But to be in the ocean right now where there are sharks looming and you are basically in water like 8-9 feet deep, you are an absolute lunatic. That's just my personal opinion. I know millions of people love swimming in the ocean. I'm a dip, get wet, cool off guy, and immediately back to the sand. And I can't stand the beach to begin with. I'm a pool guy.
If I jump into the ocean, if you're like on a boat in the middle of, like, it's like,
I panic.
It's a sprint back to the boat.
As you're stepping up on the ladder, you're like,
it's not even just sharks. What if a whale just comes by and's like, oh, what's that? Oh,
there's Portuguese man of war here too now.
I don't even know what the fuck that is.
It's a big ass jellyfish.
They're very poisonous. But you just mentioned whales, Biz. Actually, a few days ago here, just outside of Boston, Plymouth, a bunch of boaters are watching whales breach, and a whale come up and he landed on the guy's fucking boat, landed on the front of the boat. Like they almost got knocked out of it, and it caused a little bit of damage. But they're trying to warn boaters. I mean, everybody, it's cool to see whales jump out of the water, but they've told them, like, you got to keep your distance because you don't know how close they're going to get. The guy could have easily got killed.
You're a tic-tac to a whale. Imagine you jump in and just get gulped up.
Yeah, little Pinocchio style. But let's see. All right, boys. Well, I'm sure we mentioned it before, but just a reminder, this is our last episode of the 21-22 season. And look, folks, we can't thank you enough for the tremendous support this season. It's been awesome, an awesome year. The playoffs are great. I think the sport is getting bigger and better, and our fandom's getting bigger and better, and we just want to thank everybody for all the support we've had all year. Next week, we're going to have a best of episode, and then after that, we're going to have interview-only episodes for several weeks, and we have an unreal roster. We already got a bunch in the bank, a couple Hall of Famers, Conn Smythe winners, unreal roster of interviews that are coming to you soon, so we want to thank everybody once again for the season, and we also have a few other thank yous from Hockey Fest that we didn't get to. We don't want to leave anybody out. Thanks to Riverworks and their staff. Just an incredible, unique facility. Brad Jones.
Sean is the manager. He runs the show over at Riverworks. He was unbelievable for us. Anything we needed, anything we wanted, he had for us.
Awesome. Yeah, it was just such a unique place, a unique location right on the river. Also, big thanks to our buddy Brad Jones and his team at Hockey Fest. They just do an awesome job, especially Mariah, who helped get everything set up when we got there.
Like the referees, like it's like there's so much that goes into this, guys.
They have an enormous team, and I mean, just getting there early to set everything up, running the tournament, running the brackets, sending everything out to everyone, managing the jerseys. They did so much for us, and we couldn't be happier with the partnership we have with the Hockey Fest.
And, of course, everybody at Barstool, I hope we don't forget anybody here, but especially Taylor and Justin. Get well soon to live event Lisa. Also, our guys, Sean, Fish, Quada, Posh, of course, UG, huge putting this together. Yeah. All the local fellas we hired to help out with the audio-visual stuff. Also, Corey, Tara, Nick, Devlin, Ashley, Hannah, Connor, of course, MB as well. Let's see. Thanks to the home arcade games, super checks for the custom bubble hockey tables. I'll tell you, you talk about a proud papa to see the Chiclets logo on the center ice of a bubble hockey table, man. Yeah. I know. As soon as I get it, I don't have enough room with this place, but if I ever have a basement again, I'm going to definitely get one of those for my basement. Boston Levi and Dante the Don for the Friday night entertainment. Unfortunately, I didn't know we were going up to introduce Boston Levi, so I apologize, guys. I didn't know we were going up. I would have been up there. And let's see. Also, a couple other shout-outs on a personal level to the Covington Street Hockey League. These guys have been coming since Detroit. They showed up at the first one with their big trailer. Well, 7 of them stayed on island. Like, the place we're staying was sort of like, Kelly's Island, they call it. They drove. They had an RV. They let them park right there next to Riverworks. 7 of these guys slept out on the island for the whole weekend. I'm sure they were up to some shenanigans while they were there. So,
all right, I think that's one of the coolest things we've done here with this Chiclets Cup is everyone keeps coming back, and like the guys in the Covington. And I think for me, that's one of the coolest things is at each one of these tournaments, seeing all these guys that keep
familiar
coming back.
faces.
So Covington, they obviously have their brand going, but thank you to everyone too that keeps coming back and keeps participating in this thing and is making guys trips out of it, because that's what makes it so fun for us is seeing the same faces over and over again.
Agreed.
Yeah, absolutely. Personally, I have a thanks to Tyler and Kyle. They made a clutch wing run for me Saturday because I hadn't gotten my wings yet. We had a busy schedule. I don't want to gallivant off for an hour trip. So they went over to the Swanee house that was like a half-mile away from Riverworks, gave my credit card. They went over, got me a 20-piece of wings so I can experience some buffalo wings. So Tyler and Kyle, thanks a lot.
That's when you know you're a big deal. You have people making wing runs for you.
Hey, and speaking of the wings, we got to shout out Wingnuts. Wingnuts hooked up the whole Barstool crew, a bunch of the big deal selects. They just were loading us with wings all weekend. Unbelievable story with the whole Wingnuts thing. PMT has broken it down on their show. So check out Wingnuts if you haven't already.
Of course, thanks to our buddy Merles with his travel dedication. He had a hell of an adventure getting over to North America. Of course, he got here, partied up all weekend. Great time with Merles. And I know we mentioned her twice already, but I just want to give an extra special thank you to Terry Milby. She's been shooting photography for the Cup since Detroit. She's a great person, huge help to many, whether it's giving people rides somewhere, just looking out for people, always willing to help out with whatever we need. So we love you, Terry. We'll see you at the next one. And gee, when are we announcing the next one?
We will be announcing it soon, so stay tuned to the Chiclets Cup social media, and we'll be announcing it all soon. And one last thank you is just Labatt, Body Armor, and Pink Whitney. We can't thank you guys enough. None of this happens without them.
I got two. I got to thank Eric Kleineck from Bauer, my buddy from my Coyotes days. He helped out with the away locker room. Just an unreal guy. He ended up sending me some gloves and sticks for the tournament, so I had some new gear to rock.
Ricky Hillenbrand too from Bauer sent you a bunch of stuff as well.
Him as well, and then thank you to Jeff Jacobson, my right-hand man. It was actually his birthday. Of
course.
It was just his birthday. So happy birthday to Jeff. And I guess he does so much for the brand.
So much.
Yeah. Like even G can attest to that. So I know these are a lot of thank yous, guys, but these are people who mean a lot to us. And considering this is going to be the last episode for at least 6 weeks here when we're all on, we need a little bit of rest, and we got to hit the recharge batteries, and we're going to come back bigger, better, and stronger for you guys. We appreciate your patience and the fact that we are going to dip out for a little bit. But we just need it. We got to go live our personal lives a little bit. We're very dedicated to our craft, and we got to kind of turn our brain off sometimes in order to kind of hit the recharge and come back better. So thank you to everybody who listens. We love you guys. G, thank you. RA, thank you. I'll let you continue, but I just had to chime in there with a couple thank yous of my own.
No, we're just about done here, pal. Actually, I know you're going to get a little bit of rest, Biz, but you still have the Pink Whitney tour to get to up in Western Canada for the month of August, starting August 9th in Manitoba and wrapping up a week and a half later in British Columbia. So you're going to let a little bit of a break back on the road and then another big break after that. So just to echo what you said, it's been a hell of a year. We love our listeners, love our fans, everybody who tunes in. But it's time for a little breather here. I'm going to go up to Vermont for a week, hopefully unplug a little bit, and I'm trying to get another vacation or two, and just while we got the month of August off. So
go to Newfoundland, RA. You should go to Newfoundland.
I'm 100%. I'm already checking out prices. I'm definitely looking into it, and maybe we can do a Pink Whitney appearance or something. I'm going to talk to Biz after we hang up, and I'm looking forward to trying to get to Newfoundland. But other than that, gang, it's been an honor and a privilege to serve you folks.
Check out the dates online for that Pink Whitney Western Tour. We're starting off in Brandon, Manitoba. We're in Winnipeg. We're in Regina, Saskatoon. We're hitting up Red Deer, Edmonton, Calgary. We are in Langley and then Vancouver. We have a lot of stops. I'll be with Pasha. Grinelli will be joining me for a couple of the stops. Maybe Ricky Carlson. Maybe Memes will be there. Pasha Trevor Gretzky might even come on board for a few of them. So we'll see you guys there. We love you guys. And like I said, thank you for your patience and giving us this time off to hit the recharge.
Big Deal Brewing coming soon, baby. Coming soon.
Big Deal Brewing, baby.
Absolutely. Everybody enjoy the rest of your summer. We love you.